councils at each of the individual school sites, the focus groups that were held at Voler. We've received feedback, in addition, our portrait of the graduate committee and various thought exchange formats. Some of the proposed expanded actions and services can be seen on the right column, and on the left column, you'll see what we had in place for this year. So some of the things that we received feedback on was maintaining instructional leadership teams and expanding that network, considering that we have many schools where there's only one grade level one teacher per grade level. So having those opportunities for collaboration was something that our teachers really wanted and our stakeholders thought was valuable. Shifting from consultant contract to in-house elementary PE. And the music teachers aren't funded from our own funds, that's through a grant from SBPSD. The scaling of the SEAL program, we're bringing it to the second year. The next year, we will be at full implementation. We have one more year, and then we'll be at full implementation. We're going to continue to recruit, provide the teacher orientation, mentorship for new teachers, and strengthen our professional development plans to meet the needs of our unduplicated students. In addition, we did receive some funds from, you guys approved it a couple meetings ago, for us to receive funds for the low performing students block grant, which allows us to strengthen professional learning for our students who would not otherwise fall into one of those concentration areas. So, for example, a student who's low performing but is not an English learner, does not have a disability, is not homeless, and does not qualify for the reduced lunch. So that money is specifically targeted to help improve the achievement of those students. Our technology, we've been on a cycle of developing an inventory and developing plans for replacement and repairs and upgrades. And next year, our goals is to develop a plan for vetting the implementation of programs and applications that are used for our students. In addition, for goal area 1, in terms of curriculum and instructional programs, this coming year, we will be purchasing our social studies history adoption for our 6th through 8th grade students. We are looking to pilot our NGSS aligned science. We'll be expanding the English learner program for newcomers and purchasing curriculum to align with the music and PE standards at the elementary schools. Also the middle school, this is part of their school plan, but it's in alignment with our goals, is the exploration of Avid at their school site. Goal 2 has to do with pupil outcomes, and these kind of fall into similar buckets. There's the assessment and monitoring, the summer school programs. So in terms of assessment and monitoring, the feedback that we received was it was valuable to have formative assessments throughout the year rather than waiting for the one test at the end of the year. We received feedback throughout the year on updating our assessment schedule and when the assessments were given. Our curriculum council has collected feedback from all of our teachers and provided that to curriculum council. They vetted an assessment calendar for next year. We are centralizing the printing of the assessment sheets to decrease that workload on the teachers. We will continue to provide them the opportunity to engage in data analysis and again, the expansion of instructional leadership teams. When we wrote our plan for last year, we had intended on expanding our summer school offerings. At the time that I came in, we had one program that was being offered from a couple teachers. This coming year, we'll be offering Summer Bridge for kinder through 3, our Big Lift Inspiring Summers for our rising kinder through 2nd grade. We plan to increase our music summer program next year and increase the number of sections we offer for summer band. During this current year, we went from having rising 6th, 7th, and 8th graders for math to having rising 5th, 6th, and 7th graders. So we're hoping to continue to increase that enrollment. And I'm really excited to say that our 5th and 6th grade classes are full. There's waiting lists. So that's really exciting that our kids are taking advantage of that opportunity. In terms of expanding our English learner and students with disabilities support multiple programs for potential pilot. Professional development will be focused on integrated language development. We'll be scaling our SEAL program and expanding the supports that are offered to our English learners and our students with disabilities. Some of the site licenses and curriculum purchases that are differentiated for our students with disabilities will continue to be purchased. One way of supporting academic and behavioral support that was identified by our teams was developing a multi-tiered system of support district-wide. You may have heard of a student study team or student intervention team. One of the goals of the principals and the teachers is that we would have a district-wide system to ensure that students are getting appropriate interventions early on. We also intend to enhance and expand our enrichment programs offered during and after school, expand our access to leveled reading to increase our students' literacy, and continue funding the portion of our special education program specialists. For site-based programs, we will continue to provide each of the sites with supplemental allocations. This was also increased. Wendy can talk more about how it was that allocations are determined. But at the Title I site, school sites, we have decreased the ratio of students to teacher in the K-3. In terms of parent engagement and student engagement, we have a goal of increasing parent engagement, but one of the actions that's been suggested is providing professional development to the parent liaisons who currently don't take part in our professional development days. So that's been a suggestion of the team. Continuing to provide access to our parents using our website portals and expanding their access to those tools. For attendance, we looked at different, some of the recommendations that were suggested were developing a student attendance team at the district office, expanding the opportunities at the middle school, and enrichment opportunities. In terms of parent education, we will continue to provide child care and interpretation for the schools that meet that 15% threshold. In addition, we are looking, based on the feedback, to expand our opportunities for parent education. And the last bucket of that, goal 3, is on providing behavior and mental health support. We have a very robust system of support for mental health and behavioral support within our special education department. This year we began a pilot of a social emotional curriculum at One Elementary, and we began piloting PBIS at Parkside and at Rollingwood. The recommendation is that we would continue to implement PBIS, that we would continue the pilot in order to gather data at Bel Air, and that we would explore additional Tier 1 social emotional learning supports. And I'm going to hand over to Wendy before you can ask a question.
Okay. So certain of the mental health was one way to say that sort of brought to you by the special education department, in the sense that that's, is there a way to, or would we know the difference between those services they provided because either they're part of IEP or something similar, and those services also at those sites that were able to do general education, kind of like sort of beneficially because we have the staff to do that, so like
Right.
it seems like all students have a chance to benefit from it.
And
Right.
the fortunate thing in our district is that we do have those social emotional supports available on a tiered system for students. So you don't have to just, you can have access to behavior specialists and mental health support regardless of whether you have an IEP or not. So our students who don't have an IEP are also able to access those supports.
So, but will we know the roughly like the amount, let's say like utilization, or the extent to which that
Is
is
utilized?
utilized? Yeah.
I don't have
I'm
that
not
information right now.
just an idea, or that we would kind of track
How many
the
students?
mental health for everyone as opposed to what those things that are carried because of the requirement.
Right. I
But I think it's
understand what you're
worthwhile, but it's just we should know what
Right.
what we're able to do.
Right. So I think that's a very legitimate question, and we certainly do need to improve the tracking of services that are offered, like in an anonymous way
Right.
for the students. One thing that we really do want to focus in on is the Tier 1 interventions, so that our students aren't needing personal support, that we're able to give all of our students the skills to be successful socially before it escalates, and that only a few students would require those Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports. So we do have Tier 2 counselors at all of the sites and Tier 3, but those, but I'm unsure about how those are being tracked at this point.
Because the model you're describing with the 3 tiers would be comparable to those kinds of interventions for students with special needs, even though they're not, right? I mean, you have, so I'm just thinking that if we're finding benefit of using that for all interventions, that we would be able to call out particular value that we get from them, regardless of the special education applications. Because that's how you determine its value in future times or future budgets would be, yes, our students are receiving this much in those kinds of services or something like that.
Right. And so, yes, what you're referring to, you've probably heard it called the RTI pyramid of response to intervention. That first level, the lowest level of the pyramid is all students. It's called universal access. Oh goodness, this is not a good plan right here. So that universal access level would be what all kids get, and Tier 2 would be what fewer kids get. So usually it's like group counseling or some support, a friendship group, or those types of things. And then when you get to the smaller tier, that would be when you go into individual. And then of course our students who have the need for more intensive support via IEPs would be the tippy top of that pyramid.
Yeah, because even from this student standpoint, it's helpful to them, but also from the workload standpoint too, just in terms of how, what we're doing in order to provide those services.
Absolutely. Thank you. Are there more questions for me before I pass the torch?
I think it's about the summer math. You mentioned that here.
Yes.
I know this discussion isn't about summer math, but it's mentioned here. So my daughter had the wonderful opportunity of having summer math last year at Parkside, and again this summer. So I did attend the informational night about a year ago, and I thought that the information I received was and I could be phrasing this incorrectly, so if I am, please correct me. I thought that the outreach was for students who were in quartiles 2 and 3. And I'm just wondering if there's something that the district is doing to help the students that are in quartile 4.
Quartile 4 would be that they're exceeding standard.
Oh, I'm sorry, then it's the flip. It's the quartile where the students would need the most help.
The first quartile.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Yes. At this time, we haven't had a program that's directed towards that. Right now, the focus for the Elevate Math is on the kiddos who are just nearly meeting standard.
Thank you.
So what I'm going to talk to you about is what we learned when we went to the Navy Rise. Dr. Kim, Desmond, our financial analyst, and myself attended this workshop that was put on by School Services of California. And these few slides that you're going to be seeing, I did not create them. I borrowed them because that was the only thing that School Services had given us was a board-ready presentation. So I will talk a little bit about, even though some of this may not necessarily seem like it is for us, I will try to make sure that you understand how it does work for us. So one of the first things that they really talked about in the May Revise was the fact of the California Economic Outlook. Now, if you remember, Governor Brown would always tell you, it looks fine, it looks good, however we know it's coming. And it's almost like, we'll take it to the great Game of Thrones. Winter is coming, you know, you've heard that. Well, the recession is coming, and that's one of the educational community out there is wanting us to keep this in mind, that we have been in now the 10th year of fiscal recovery from that recession, and we know how cyclical these things are. We will be having a recession. However, they don't anticipate it to be as great as we did at the first great recession, because I think the last one we had was even greater than the first one we had. Anyway, so it's still forecast that we're going to be growing, but very slow. Our economy in California alone ranks 5th in the world. So that means we are going to be having all kinds of influences on us based on the global economy and what happens out there in that global economy. The GDP, or gross domestic product, is almost at $3 trillion, and that was as of December 18. And we're maintaining, historically, a very low unemployment. As of March 19, it was 4.3%. So what they're forecasting is that the personal income is going to still continue to grow. It does say 4.15%, but that's an average. It could be higher in some places and lower in other places. The unemployment is remaining low. 4.3% is pretty low. And also the jobs, we've got steady employment with, there is a modest decline in the government sector. So what is at risk for the state budget? It being 5th and largest in the world. It's going to be influenced by what happens out there in that global economy. Although the state's budget is really looking to invest in its state reserves and reduce the debt to strengthen the budget, so that we have a resiliency when it comes to a recession when and if it does come. But because of California's uniqueness of being such a global economic competitor, we are susceptible to all those things that are happening out there. And one of those really big things is the trade wars that are going on. California is home to 2 of the largest ports that we have in the world, and that being the Long Beach area and Oakland. So when the trade wars with all their tariffs hit them, it's going to hit us because it's going to increase the cost of us getting any of our purchases. And back when the LCFF was actually created by Governor Brown, at the same time he created this new way of funding for the school districts, he also created what he called the Rainy Day Fund. And I think at the time it was called Proposition 2 that came about. And what this means is that there should be a certain amount of money that the state will allocate and each year will put into this Rainy Day Fund. Again, it's really to help the state be able to still function and give the state money where needed when the recession comes. It is now expected for that particular Rainy Day Fund to reach its constitutional cap of 10% of the general fund revenues. And we're talking general fund revenues of the state budget, not of the local budget. And as you can see, by the end of 22-23, they're expecting it to be $18.7 billion. While that sounds like a lot of money, it's really still just a drop in the bucket. The revised budget also talks about for the first time that they will be depositing $389 million into the public school system stabilization account. This is not money that we're actually going to get as a district, but it is their way, the state's way of trying to ensure that we will not be hurt a lot when the recession comes. So they've done this study back in February 2018 by Rutgers University and the Educational Law Center about, is school funding fair? You could ask and talk to anybody on the street and they would probably tell you that no, it's not. We continuously hear about how low California is ranked on several measures of school funding. As you can see by the slide, in 2018 we were at funding per pupil at a 32nd ranking, and $8,000, almost $8,900 per student. We provided 66% of the 10th ranked Delaware, who gets almost $14,000 per student. But back in 2011, even though this study was started in 2018, but if we look back at 2011, we were in 38th place, and again, we're still at about 65%. So we really haven't moved on the funding per pupil. So because of this study, they gave grades, and of course, as you can see from the slide, California has a grade F. The per capita for personal income is $44,000 for us, for the state of California, and it's a little above the national range. But we only provide $34 of each $1,000 of that personal income for supporting schools. Now, go look at New York. They have a little bit higher per capita, but very comparable to ours, $46,000. Yet they're providing $55 for each 1,000. So they get a grade A. And look at New Mexico, who is considerably lower per capita than we are, down at $36,000. But nonetheless, they are providing $48 per $1,000 of personal income, also receiving a grade A. And every time that we go to one of these school services of California's workshop, and they talk to us about the national economy, and they compare us to other states, it's just amazing how here we are, the 5th largest economy in the world, and yet we're ranking very, very low on our funding for our per students. This one, the bottom got a little messed up there a little bit, but what it's telling you is that the blue bars are what the Prop 98, that's the funding, the constitutional funding for this state that has to go to schools. That's what it was in January. So you can see the blue bars all the way across, and they are going up. You can see how far we have come, and you can see how low we went. The green bar is what is being projected for the May revise. So there's not much difference. It's very stagnant there. So I mentioned about how into the stabilization fund that the state will be adding $389 million in 1920, and thankfully this deposit is still short of the 3% level that would trigger the school districts to have to put a cap on their reserves. Therefore, that cap is not going to come into play, but what school services is trying to tell us, and what we have to really pay attention to is it's just a matter of time before they do reach that 3% Proposition 98 threshold, which will then trigger us to have certain caps on our reserves, and therefore school services is one of our advocates that is up there lobbying the legislature to do some type of full repeal of that particular funding policy. So what we found out for May Revise is that In January, we were told that the COLA was going to be 3.4%, but it has been ratcheted down to 3.26. It's in May that the actual calculation is done nationwide, and this amount is then given to the districts and others so that they can start to really do their budgets and hone in on their budgets. So it is just a 0.2% decrease, but that still equates to dollars. The categorical programs outside of the LCF funding formula will be getting that 3.26% COLA adjustment. Of course, that means the special education, the foster youth, the child nutrition, preschool, the mandate block grant, and then, of course, another pot of funds that we are not eligible for at the American Indian. So in the budget that you're going to see, the special education will reflect the increase of the 3.2%. Child nutrition, we like to wait until we actually see that the state is going to fully fund that. But that will be increased and adjusted once we do the first interim to reflect those. And preschool, the same thing, because on preschool, we have to make sure that we are actually having the seats for all those preschool students and that we're actually earning the amount that we're entitled to. So that, again, will actually be readjusted for first interim. So here, I know that we are not LCF funded, but this is just so that you can see that the 3.26% COLA was added to all of those grade spans on the base grant. And you can see it went from 7,400 to 7,700 all the way down. The other item that will get the adjustment, the COLA adjustment, are the grade span adjustments for the K through 3 and then the 9 through 12. We are a community funded district, which means while these have had the COLA put to them, this is not our funding. Our funding will come directly from the property tax values. And so here's where President Martinez, you were talking about how do we get the supplemental funds. Remember that the supplemental funds will come in when you to all the districts, and it's 20% of the base grant times whatever that unduplicated count percentage. That'll give you that dollar figure. The 50% concentration grant is when your unduplicated count is 50% or higher, but keep in mind that you don't get anything until it's above 55%. We are about 48% at this particular point in time. It has been adjusted since we did have a couple of audit findings for the last 3 years. Therefore, that's why we're at 48%. So even though it shows here, these numbers will be used to calculate what we have to put in our budget as the supplemental. And that will come out of the revenue that we have from the property taxes.
If I can ask one more question about this too. I understand the grade span adjustment, even for supplemental, you see how many students apply at a time. Those, we would be getting it based on our population. We would not getting it, but we would be allocating it based on we would be expected to allocate based on where our students lie.
For the supplemental funds, yes.
But even for the other sort of general funding that the districts are getting for grade span adjustments, like the full student, would we, what I gathered from the earlier discussion was, for example, Title I schools, we would have lower class sizes and younger grades. In a sense, we're almost recognizing a grade span differential. We wouldn't be fund it that way, though, right?
No.
In other words, if we were to treat grade spans differently, that would be based on local decisions.
Correct. So, what does LCFF mean for Sanford Park? As you can see, it really means, for funding-wise, it doesn't mean that we're getting any additional funds. We are a community-funded district, therefore none of the increases, the COLA increases, to the LCFF base grant will increase the revenue for the district, that the district receives. The district will allocate supplemental funds from the total property tax revenue, and this is approximately $1.8 million, and it is a reduction from 18-19, not by a huge amount, maybe 100,000, 150,000 is the reduction. And again, that's because of the reduction in the unduplicated count percentage. So here are some of the assumptions that I am making based on information that we have gathered. Sorry, I have some notes here. Hold on. I'll look at it real quick. The first one is that the assessed value, or AV, of the property tax. We, as I did last year, I am doing it this year also, that I am anticipating the growth to be 5%. It could be higher based on more houses being sold. That could go up, but at this point in time, this is what I know, so we're going to go with 5%. If it should come in higher than that, once the annual property taxes are given to the district, we definitely will be increasing that, or adjusting that, I should say, at the first interim. And we will know those numbers sometime around August 15th, when the County Controller's Office has to give that report to all the school districts. We were going to project at this particular point in time that we have full staffing in special education. That would be both for the certificated employees and the classified employees. We do know that it can be very difficult to get all of these in place. I know that Sarah is working very diligently to get that done. And at this point, when I present the budget to you on June 12th, I will show that it's going to be at full staffing. If, as we go through, come August and September, when school really gets started, and we find that we have not, and we have to go to contracted services in order to fill those positions, we will do an adjustment for the first interim, take the funds that are allocated in your salaries and benefits, and bring them down to your contracted services. So it should be a wash unless for some reason that contracted service is even more great than what we had anticipated. Again, it will be reflected at first interim time. Governor Brown kept giving us year after year after year of this one-time funding, which it seemed like it should have been just part of ongoing, but the way that it worked, that's what we got. This year, for 1920, there is no anticipated one-time funding. So when you look at the state revenue, when I presented, it will be lower than the prior year because of that fact. And we do not want to count on something that definitely may not show up. One thing that was in the budget that we were really, really happy to hear, finally, is that Governor Newsom is asking for the legislature to do a contribution to the STRS so that the employer contribution would be reduced. It was slated to be at 18.1% for 1920, and it's looking like it's going to be 16.7%. I was not going to include that because I was not sure that the legislature would really go with that and allow that to happen. you don't want to fund pensions as such. But with the confirmation from the school services as they look and watch all the budget hearings that are going on, it was determined that they really believe that this is going to pass as part of the budget. So that is a decrease of 1.4%, and it was well over $100,000 that the district is going to be able to capture in savings because of that reduction in the contribution. It is also going to further change the 2021 to 17.1%. Again, another reduction for us. And at this point in time, they're keeping it at 17.1% going forward, hoping that the legislature will keep that going also. And so that will be reflected in when I present the budget. We will be using those numbers for that. The federal funds, we really, year to year, have no idea what they're going to do. And a lot of times it doesn't change significantly until after a census is done, and then they recalculate and redo everything. And a lot of times we do see a little increase. But I think to be conservative, as I did last year, and it was about the right amount, we are going to reduce those federal funds revenues by 10%. The donation accounts, and every year there is kind of a review when we look at our local revenue, when it comes into the budget for the adoption budget. You'll say, oh my gosh, it's really lower than last year. And that's because I won't know exactly how much money is going to be carried over, and I don't think it's right to put it into the adopted budget. But first in on, once the books are closed, that will be adjusted, and that will be reflected. And if you go back and you look at from the adopted budget to the first interim budget, you will always see that there was an increase in the local revenue because of that fact. The restricted routine maintenance account, or the RRMA, as the state calls it, we've had several years because of the recession. We were allowed to not fully fund it at 3% of general fund expenditures, but this is 1920 is the year that it has to go back to the 3%. Luckily, that's not going to hurt us tremendously because we have been doing 3% for the last several years. And then one of the things that the school services really talked about a lot was reserves. If you think about it, the state is getting their reserve. The state has got, looking to have $16.7 billion in their reserve. And when you're a community-funded district, you need to have those reserves because you don't know when one of these big corporations will come by and say, you know what? I think I need to have a reduction in my property taxes. I think you need to look at that. That's what happened with Genentech. We know that's going to be coming. However, we still do not yet know how much that's going to affect us. So having those reserves, a greater reserve than just 3%, even greater than 6%, is going to benefit the district. So we don't have to go into budget cuts immediately. So one of the reasons why Valerie and I tag team here is because you need to remember and realize that the LCAP and the budget are hand in hand. And we have to work, business services has to work with ed services all the time to make sure that we're following all the rules and regulations for the LCAP and for the budget. And as year after year they have changed the information on what needs to be in the LCAP, we are moving with the flow. So we're on the last year of our third round of the LCAP. We started with 2017-18 all the way to 2019-20. So next year we will start, when we do doing the LCAP, we will start a new 3-year cycle. So again, for 1920 and every year, we'll have a revised LCAP plan summary. What's what's new this year is a budget overview for parents. This is, I'll talk about this a little bit more in the next slide. And then the other item that's new for this year is what they call the LCAP Federal Addendum. And that's going to be through your cars or your comment. So the budget overview for parents is, like I said, it's new for 1920, and it's intended to help the stakeholders better understand what the funding decisions are included in the LCAP. It must be developed in conjunction with the LCAP and attached as a cover. So you'll see a new couple of pieces of paper that will be attached to the LCAP. And it must be included in the review and approval of the LCAP when we bring it for public hearing. You will see it, and then it will be part of the final document when it's approved in June 26th. This just goes, this particular slide just goes through some of the, in particular, items of what the budget overview for the parents is going to look like, all of the data requirements, and we're working a lot of this is already included in the LCAP itself, especially under the annual update where we have to explain where there's differences and whatnot. But this is also, again, part of that new overview for parents. And as we do for when we're doing the overview, which we did when we do the annual update, all this information is in there. We have to show and tell what happened that year, why it was different than what we had projected, and what we did in difference too. Meaning, if we didn't spend all of the funds at this particular place, maybe we utilize a restricted fund in place of that, and therefore those funds were not utilized in that way. But again, that all has to be explained, and it really is part of the annual update. The federal addendum, in order for us to receive our federal funds, the LEAs are required to complete that plan, which, sorry, there's a map here. So in that, in order for us to get those funds, we have to do the LCAP, which we all know. We have to do the consolidated application, or what we call the CONAP, and we have to do that LCAP federal addendum. And that federal addendum is it's in the consolidated application. And the LCAP will likely address all the requirements for the LEA plan, and the amendment is meant to supplement the LCAP to ensure the LEAs comply with the plan requirements. And that's it on what we are attempting to have for the adopted budget come June 12th.
So that's a question. Whether in your when the budget, the analysis for the budget, some of the particular one, if you would be able to over the last time, last couple of years or whatever, indicate that gap between that's made us community funded. See how that's and show it.
Yes.
How that's growing or shrinking. How trending.
Right. I was playing around with the calculator just because I wanted to be able to tell you, well, if the base grant funds went up X amount of dollars, then it would throw us back into LCFF. I went up as high as 6%, and it wasn't showing anything different at this point in time. And I do believe it's because we have anticipated a projection of a growth in the AV property taxes to be 5% each year.
I know both budget, but also the performance of the budget, which might be percent interim or not at actuals. But if you would also be able to show what we anticipate the contribution for special education will be over time, just because I think our open expectation has been that
budget presentation and give you an idea of how it has changed. One of the things that we have to think about, one of the factors that would influence that, where it would continuously arise, is the fact that if we do not get the funding from the other sources, for special education, the AB 602 funding, it's only rising by 3.26% this year. If that's not enough to cover just our basic operations for special education, then the contribution would definitely be on the rise. The mental health monies that we get from special education, from the mental health pot of funds, that goes up and down because as more districts are utilizing those funds, it gives a little less for each district to receive. Therefore, the contribution would again go up because of that fact. It's not necessarily that we are adding more services or we have got more students. It's because the other funding that would have been there is decreasing. So the only way that it's going to stabilize is we've got to increase that contribution so that we are able to perform all those services.
Yeah, thank you. I think, because those, the good analysis that goes into the budget is only, we know it's at that moment in time, but it is the best decision to make at the time. So it's actually, it's helpful to have the artifact of what did we think was the best at that time, even if it's to look back later,
Right, definitely. And one of the things we also have to keep in mind, and I got to get this finished. One of the things that we have to keep in mind also is the fact that other agencies that we work with, their costs are rising also. And just like they do in the grocery store, they pass it on to the consumer. And in this respect, we are the consumer because we have to utilize their services. Therefore, we have to absorb any increases they give us. And when you think about what happens with the County Office of Education, keep in mind that they really serve some of the most severely disabled students, and therefore they have to have more specialized help, and those can come at a cost, and then that increases our cost. And though we want to blame it on somebody, it's the costs are increasing. But I will put in a little graph or a little chart so that you can see what we've done as far as our contribution. I will identify each and every one because a lot of times when we think about the contribution for special education, we might be only thinking about the AB 602 funding, when in fact it's the mental health, it's AB 602, it's the IDEA that we get from the federal government, it's the preschool dollars that we get also from the federal government, and we know that the federal government does not live up to their giving us the 40% that they're supposed to be giving us. But I will do a little chart on that and show you. Yeah. Sometimes it's an eye-opener.
Yes, Judge. Mostly commentary. One of the things that when we're going through the session.
Can you talk to the mic, please?
Through the recession was the vulnerability of the California economy in respect to that 46 to 47% of the economy is dependent upon 1% of the population, the personal income. So if the economy goes, that 1% will have a incredible tsunami effect on a district like this versus Palo Alto or Burlingame, where they have much more as basic aid, a reserve in order to weather it. And so districts like us are in a precarious situation. The other comment is that we are one of the richest counties in the state of California. And here's the irony. You mentioned Delaware spending over $13,000. We spend over $13,000 for the high school district per student. And when it comes to the elementary students, it's lower. And it depends upon what resources, and it depends on the other 22 districts, elementary districts in San Jose County that's also affected, and how they will be affected, and not the high school district as well. So it's very locally, not just at the state level, that we live in precarious times, and that's why I think your comment about having a higher reserve is very critical, because we have to have the capacity in order to sustain an economic downturn in terms of recovery money that we lost during the recession was, we've just gotten back to that level.
Right.
There's no additional money that's been given to education. And so this is another thing I think the board and the community needs to understand, that the state is not adding new money. And so we're working on dollars of 2008 with great inflation going in and not new. So this is restorative, not additional. Thank you. Great job in both your presentations and the level of work that your staff in your presentation. Thank you.
Any other questions?
For the chair, again, thank you for the presentation. I think to Trustee Martinez's point about unaudited actuals, I think unaudited actuals comes up quite a bit. It'd be good to have a little bit of a sort of PR as far as what they are, and explaining the importance of them and the dynamic they provide to the budget overall. I also like his comment about reserves, showing what reserves, I don't know if it's publicly available, but reserves across counties, other school districts, where we can see what's a mature reserve for a district our size, and what are the commitments to actually build up that reserve. Thank you.
Sure. I just want to remind the board that every single school district is different, even though we may be comparable in the number of students or enrollment that we have. It's still made up differently, and the percentage that one district has as a reserve could be totally different than the one that we might have. But I do have access to those numbers because the County Office of Education keeps a long spreadsheet of several years, and they show what the percentages are for each of the school districts. I think whenever the County Office of Education sends in their board approval letter, the approval letter to the board, there's usually two spreadsheets that are attached. That one is for the district itself, and the other one is for the districts in the county also. But I will make sure to give you that. I'll put it as part of the presentation. I may not talk to it, but I will give you that documentation so you have it.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you both for your presentations.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So, I believe we're just on the time we vote. So, I think the time would be to adjourn now and then come back in at 7 o'clock. I think that'll bring the study session close. Thank you. School District Board of Education will now come to order. As is our practice, tonight's meeting will be recorded. I'm going to start the evening with the pledge to the flag, so students are going to lead us. Please rise.
Here. Ms. Chavez.
Here.
Dr. Sanchez.
Here.
Mr. Mason.
Here.
Mr. Martinez.
Here. Thank you. Item 8.4, adoption or change in the order of the agenda.
To the chair, I'd like to move items G1 and H1 before action items, which is F, so before F1. and H1 before F1.
Actually, I would maybe propose to keep F1 where it is, but I believe we have people here for that.
And then F2, after F1.
Is there a second? The motion would be to move item G1 and H1 after item F1.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. The item B, the board study session occurred earlier, the first part of the meeting, from 5:30 to 6:30. Move on to item C. C1, the Rollingwood Skyline STEM Partnership.
It is. So this year we have entered into a partnership with Rollingwood Elementary School and Skyline College. And this evening we have Principal Hennessy here with students to share the presentation of the work that they've done around ecology and conserving the environment.
Good evening, President Martinez, Board of Trustees, Dr. Kemp. I am really proud to be here today to stand and introduce my staff and my students who are going to present. We started the partnership last spring. Dr. Kemp introduced me to the president of Skyline College, and we started talking about how we might be able to partner with them, and they came up with sustainability as a focus for our school. And they helped arrange a 2-day boot camp before school started, where our teachers came, and the County Office of Ed led a 2-day boot camp where they learned all about sustainability, carbon footprinting, lots of different things. This year our partnership kind of got some rocky start, but we look forward to really continuing it strong next year now that we have a better sense of what we're doing. But our teachers didn't let that stop us. And I'm going to pass the mic to introduce Paris Garcia, she's our 3rd grade teacher, and Amanda Coons, who's currently doing something, and our students who are going to come on up, and they're really going to be the ones to present to you about what we've done this year with sustainability at Rollingwood.
Are we going to be blocky, or do we need to not?
You're fine.
Okay.
Good evening, trustees Martinez, Blanco, Chavez, Mason, Sanchez, Dr. Kemp, and community members. We are Molly,
Malia,
Nevaeh, Aurora,
and Danielle.
and we are 3rd and 4th graders from Rollingwood Elementary. This year, the upper grade students have learned a lot about plastic waste and how it impacts all of our lives. We recognize a problem at our school and would like to ask the San Bernardino Park School District Board members and Superintendent Dr. Stella Kemp to please consider our proposal to help solve that problem. We hope you enjoy our presentation and will seriously consider our request.
The problem that we recognize is that our school is using excessive amounts of single-use plastic in our cafeteria. This kind of plastic waste is harmful to the environment that we live in. A lot of plastic waste comes from these utensil packages that contain a plastic spork, plastic straw, and paper napkin wrapped in plastic. If a student needs a napkin, the only way they can get one is by getting one of these packages, and the rest of the items are wasted and thrown away. We discovered these problems by doing several types of research.
lots of plastic litter around our school campus. We also collected and counted the waste from the utensil packets from 5 days of our lunch in the cafeteria. We wanted to see if our hypotheses were correct that all of the plastic was being thrown away without being used. Upper grade students sorted their own trash and helped the younger students sort theirs. The trash was sorted into unused plastic sporks, unused plastic straws, unused napkins, unused complete packets, and all the other plastic. The bin for all other plastics included plastic from home lunch.
After the waste was sorted, students counted to find our totals. We made several observations. The first thing that we noticed was that different items from the utensil packets were being used each day. For example, on April 10th, mozzarella breadsticks were being served. We had more unused sporks on that day because we didn't use spork to eat that meal. But if students wanted a napkin or a straw, they had to take the entire packet. On that same day, we had fewer unused napkins, which means that students took the whole packet just for the napkin. We also noticed that the straws are the item being used the most. That means a lot of students are taking the utensil package just for the straw, even though most students don't need straw to drink their milk. That's a lot of wasted plastic. In total, over 5 days, we counted 138 complete packets that were taken but not used, 177 unused sporks, 166 unused straws, and 199 unused napkins.
In addition to the unused plastic from the utensil packet, we also collected all the other plastic that was being thrown away. This included the plastic sporks and plastic straws that were used in the packets, the actual plastic wrapper around the packets, and the plastic waste from home lunches. Here are some photos that show how much plastic we collected over those 5 days from our 272 students.
As you can see, we collected a lot of plastic waste over 5 days. Now let's consider how much plastic is thrown away over an entire school year. As we said, most of this is single-use soft plastic that cannot be recycled. That means that our school is sending this much plastic into the landfill and ocean each year.
In a year, we are throwing away approximately 5,520 unused complete utensil packets,
7,080 unused sporks, 6,640 unused straws, and 7,240 unused napkins. All of these items are being thrown away because the only way that students can get the items they need is by taking the entire packet.
All of this wasted plastic is a serious problem for several reasons. Number one, climate change. The production of plastic sends out greenhouse gases that speed up climate change. Climate change kills animals in the Arctic. It's bad for the environment. Number two, landfills. Plastic just sits in landfills. When plastic is in landfills, it sits around because plastic takes a minimum of 200 years to decompose. So it just sits around and will outlive us all.
Number three, money. When we throw away plastic items that aren't used, we waste the money that was spent on those items. And number four, sea life. The plastic that Rollingwood is using is affecting the sea life because sea life thinks that the plastic is food and sea life could die.
After looking at all of upper grade students came up with 3 ideas to solve our problem of
To demonstrate how plastic can harm sea life, we used the plastic we collected to create art. We learned that sea turtles and other animals might accidentally eat plastic because the plastic can look like jellyfish to them. We used the plastic wrappers from the utensil packets and plastic cups from fruit cups to create this jellyfish. We used the unused boards we collected to create the skeleton of a sea turtle.
After looking at all of our data, the upper grade students came up with 3 ideas to solve our problem of excessive plastic waste. Our first idea was to have Wasteless Wednesday. Wasteless Wednesday is a day when our students over at school don't bring plastic. A lot of plastic was collected from home lunch, so students are encouraged to pack a waste-free lunch. This only helps with some of the problem though. Students who bring a lunch from home can make the choice about the plastic they bring, but students who get school lunch don't have the same choices. This is why our second solution is to purchase the sports, napkins, and straws individually. Instead of pre-packaging bundles, the utensil packets are not helping us save the animals at all. They are ruining the environment. This is where we need to help the school. Board members and Dr. Kemp, please consider adjusting how these waste in our cafeteria. It will be easier for us to make responsible choices if we take only the items we need for the meal. If possible, we would like to see this change made from being our next school year.
Our third idea is to purchase condiment dispensers instead of individual packets. This will help us reduce our plastic waste because the packets are made for only one use. Condiment dispensers can be used for several years. A dispenser can be used for mustard, ketchup, and other condiments. This is another idea that we would like to ask the school board members and Dr. Kemp to please support. Please consider adjusting how these items are purchased and distributed to students, so that we can reduce our plastic waste at Rollingwood and San Bruno. Our hope is also have this change made for the beginning of 2019 to 2020 school year.
Thank you so much for listening and considering our proposal. We hope that you will support our effort to reduce plastic waste.
Thank you so much for sharing your findings and your work and your passion around the issue, and also sharing with us your scientific inquiry. I think that's really very impressive. Thank you.
Through the chair, I'd like to echo that as well. In our agenda, we will bring this up as another agenda item for request put on to the board to consider.
To the chair,
Yes.
doesn't Henry need a second board member to approve that request? But doesn't he need a second? Doesn't he need another board member to approve that?
Thank you.
I just want to stick to protocol and board policies.
Me too. Item D1, 2019 STEAM Fair Awardees Recognition.
Good evening.
On May 11th, 2019, the district held their first annual STEAM fair for elementary schools. This was the first time in many years that the district has sponsored such an event. The program was supported by a generous donation from the San Bruno Education Foundation. I'd also like to thank Dr. Sheila Crotts and Ms. Colleen Hennessy, who led this event. Additionally, I'd like to thank the teachers who worked directly with our students to prepare their projects. Ms. Dee Dee Lemkel, Mrs. Holly Stotts-Malwini, Ms. Lanisha Mannix, Ms. Lisa Cooper, Ms. Leslie Tu, Ms. Katrina Chun, and Ms. Donna Contreras. At this time, I'd like to invite you forward to recognize our STEAM Fair winners.
Thank you, and good evening to members of the board and Dr. Kemp. This was a really great opportunity for all the students grades 3 through 5 in the district to participate in the first STEAM fair. And so we would like to acknowledge the 4 top prize placers, starting off with 3rd place from Rollingwood, Tristan Panaligan. And 2nd place let me tell you, Tristan's was on the Earth's atmosphere. In 2nd place, studying mold growth in 4th grade from Allen, Miss Sydney Pineda. I have to tell you, I was so impressed with Sydney's technique. Often she would come to, on the Saturday practice sessions, and she knew, and I shared a fondness because my background is in microbiology, and she always made sure she wore gloves, and she wore a mask, and she didn't contaminate anything, and a true scientist. Great job. And in 1st place from Portola, Owen Chan. Owen's experiment was on how different surfaces affect the bounce of a basketball. And our grand prize winner with the experiment of the effects of Wi-Fi radiation on plants, 5th grader from Portola, Nathaniel Hernando. Thank you to all of the children in the district that participated, and we look forward to doing it again next year.
Thank you, and I'm very happy that at item D2, recognition of our retirees.
So now is the time for us to embarrass you a little bit. Fran, where are you? She's hiding. Where are you? And Kit, come on up. All right. We're so excited to be able to honor both of you this evening, and so I'm gonna start, since Fran, you're right here. Kid, you're just gonna sit down for just a second. All right, so Dr. Dunleavy, let me tell you, if you ever go to an escape room, she will help you to get out. Last year we did a team building activity, and she was the star of the event. She helped us get out of the escape room. Quite competitive, this one right here. So I wanted just to say, Fran, on behalf of the district, and we have some community members here that want to honor you as well, we want to thank you for your service to the district. It's been a tremendous honor to work with you, and thank you to your husband, for Brian, for sharing her with us all these years. You guys are going to have a good time. I know there's a wedding coming up, and she's talking about that all the time, so she's very excited about this. I think the years in the making, right? Yes. So I'd like to start first by introducing, and then we'll just kind of come up in order, and I'll hand you the mic. So representing Congresswoman Jackie Spears' office is Nancy Krause. Representing Senator Jerry Hill's office is Elmer Martinez. Representing Assemblymember Kevin Mullins' office is Ben Cohen. Representing the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors is Randy Trujillo. And we have our mayor here, Rico Medina. So I'm going to just kind of like let them pass the mic and they can say some nice things about you.
President Martinez, members of the board, Dr. Kemp, it is a distinct pleasure for me to be here this evening representing Congresswoman Jackie Spears to honor you. And I have the wrong one. Francis M. Dunleavy, EDD, in recognition. Congratulations on 38 years as an educator, 37 years in San Mateo Park School District, and 13 years as principal at John Muir Elementary School. During your career, you've ignited the dreams of over 1,200 students. Your success is measured in part by the fact that children of your students return to John Muir Elementary School, and I think that might be stated. You created a STEM program with a robotics focus and inculcated environmental respect into every child. A school without leadership is a facade of learning, but John Muir Elementary, due to your leadership, is a revered institution in our community. Thank you for a job well done. U.S. Congresswoman Jackie Spears.
Hello everyone, my name is Elmer Martinez. I'm Senator Jerry Hill's district representative for the city of San Bruno. It's great to be back. I'm very honored to be here today to honor Francis on your 38 years of distinguished service to the San Bruno Park School District. As both an educator and principal, you've demonstrated your steadfast commitment to improving the quality of education, inspiring students to strive to be the very best versions of themselves. Through your dedication and hard work, you have truly earned the respect of your district colleagues, students, and families. On behalf of Senator Jerry Hill and the 13th Senate District, we wish you the best for a fruitful and rewarding retirement.
Good evening. I feel like I should face you. My name's Ben Cohen. I'm here on behalf of Assemblymember Kevin Mullen, just to add our voice to the chorus and thank you for your service and congratulate you on your retirement. Wish you all the best. So thank you so much, and we have, of course, a certificate for you.
Good evening, Randy Trios from Supervisor Dave Pine's office. Supervisor Pine is sorry you couldn't be here himself tonight, but as a former member of a couple of school boards, he certainly appreciates and understands your hard work and all the great things you've done. So on behalf of Supervisor Pine and all the members of the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, I have a resolution signed by each board member. Thank you, and congratulations.
Good evening, board members. I'm thinking like Ben. I'm going to turn around a little too. This has been, for me, when I heard the news that we had two principals retiring. It was of a shock. As I've worked through this community as a former city employee, as a council member, and now as elected mayor. There are things and times when I worked to do that. We can go back to many years of former principals. There are times that come along individuals that really step forward, that show their dedication and their passion and their true heart for what they do and what they believe. And being there, Fran is one when I was on the council, who I did principal for the day. She gave me a polo, a whistle, and said, "Get to work."
I'm glad you were wearing tennies.
Yes. Also, because of some crosswalk issues, she had me there one time as well, actually at the end of school, to see it firsthand, so that I could appreciate as a council member what the youth were going through on the crosswalk. It's truly this that has made John Muir very special. It is truly this that has added to the youth and to the community. And it is truly this, and it's going to be similar to me saying it about you, kid, that I truly can tell you, from my perspective of being a lifelong resident of this town, you have made a difference to the youth, to the community, and to the education in the city of San Bruno. As the elected mayor of this city of San Bruno, on behalf of its council, on behalf of the community, on behalf of its residents, I offer you this proclamation with my deep appreciation, thanks, and love for all that you have done for this city. She's not good at it.
Well, I wanted to say, I want to know where you're going to retire those cool tennis shoes that you always wear.
Her red sparkles?
Her red sparkle tennis shoes.
They're not going to retire. They're not going to retire.
You're going to use them for travel, right? Exactly. Okay. We also have this beautiful worker for you as well. So for your, I told her for her home office. So.
I think I'll leave everything
okay.
for the
Sounds
moment.
good. Okay.
Actually, kids will have to go back.
A year ago, I came to you and I said, I had this vision about the school. I'm sorry. I had this vision. I had a vision, and you and I talked about it. We talked it through, and you really took on a great challenge to bring STEAM to Allen. And I want to thank you for that. Yes.
My staff.
So, I understand you're going to be steaming on over to Norway.
Yes, we are.
When you're finished, and I want to thank you on behalf of the board also for your service to our students. And I hope you and your husband, Trey, have a wonderful time in retirement. You have a few years ahead of him. I think he's going to stay in the biz right for a little while. And so again, on behalf of our school district, thank you so much. You have a beautiful orchid for your new home office, because I'm sure you're going to have one. And I'd like to invite Nancy Cross to come out on behalf of Congresswoman Jackie Spears.
In recognition of Kit Costa, congratulations on 47 years as an educator and 20 years at Allen Elementary School. During your time at Allen Elementary, over 2,000 students were enticed to think big and to explore their potential. 100 teachers came to you for guidance and leadership. This leadership included advocating for music in the curriculum, closing the achievement gap, creating a solid STEAM curriculum, and focusing on math success for all students, including those who were low income and Latino. The music program that you led was recognized by the San Mateo County School Boards Association. Your successful data-driven approach to closing the achievement gap was the source of much success. Thousands of families and students owe their bright futures to their sound beginnings under your leadership at Allen Elementary School, and to your additional years as a teacher and administrator in other venues. Thank you for a job well done from U.S. Congresswoman Jackie Spears.
Congratulations on your retirement after 20 years of distinguished service to the San Bruno Park School District. Throughout your 47 years as an educator, you have guided and encouraged generations of students and colleagues, bringing warmth, wisdom, and kindness to the task. Through your dedication and hard work, you have undoubtedly made an impact in the San Bruno Park community, and we thank you and wish you the best in your retirement.
On behalf of Assemblymember Moen, I'd like to thank you for your service and congratulate you on your retirement and wish you all the best. It sounds like you have some fun things ahead. So congrats to you. Thank you.
Hi, so when I arrived earlier, I was walking around lost outside. And I was lucky enough to run into and meet Kit and her husband. And I said, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to go. I have some resolutions for some retiring principals. And Kit said, oh, really? I'm a retiring principal. First of all, sorry for ruining the surprise. But more importantly, Supervisor Pine asked me to thank you for your work and congratulate you on retirement. And I have for you a resolution signed by all the members of the San Diego County Board of Supervisors.
And Randy, don't worry, we won't tell the supervisor that you ruined the surprise. But always being helpful. Kid also has been a part just next to City Hall. So I've been here for fire drills, poster contests, coding, always been welcomed and thought of. And we've had a great relationship. And it is, if you think about these two ladies, the 33 years, I believe, as principal, your over 85 years of education and service to our youth, our over 3,200 students that they were principals for, who they touched each and every one of their lives to give them the foundation they need for their future. These are incredible ladies. And Kit, you have, as well as Fran, have had the professionalism, the deep desire and love for these children and this community. And I can say, without ladies like you, as principals, as educators, and as people, we would not have been doing so well in this district because they make a difference, as well as their staff at all levels at this district. This is one thing we can all agree on. These are two ladies that we wish so well in retirement, that have earned their right and their time. And I bet you they don't go far and they keep in touch. But Kit, on behalf of myself as the elected mayor, on behalf of the city council, on behalf of this community, you and Fran have, as our motto is, the city with the heart. And Kit, you have been a part of this heart and this community from day one. Thank you so very much.
Briefly, we are going to break for, we're going to do a photo shoot real quick up here in the front, so we can have the two of you come. And we have a reception back here in the back. We're going to break for a few minutes for the reception, 15 minutes.
gotta make sure nobody sits on them.
Yeah, it's a good turnout.
Wait a minute there. That was next on the agenda.
Thank you so much.
meeting. Oh, no, I saw it.
But you're right, we all work through it. It was like the greatest job.
Unless you want to bring your popcorn. And you know what? You can wear jeans and tennis shoes. I will. I think there's another report on it. I think we're just going to
Thank you so much, by the way. In 1 minute, I'm actually
So I didn't stop it, but I just...
Oh yeah. You have her number, right? Yeah, don't worry about it. We're all busy.
Huh?
We're all busy. She's cool. Like, don't get anxious. Okay, okay. Yeah. I know. No, I'll keep her posted. I think like we
Public comment, E1. So the governing board does not act on any matter that has not been agendized except under limited circumstances as permitted by law. It is the policy of the governing board to refer matters raised in this forum to staff for investigation and or action where appropriate. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. You will be advised when you have 30 seconds left, and again, when your time is up. So please keep within 10 minutes. So do I have any items for public comment?
There are no cards.
Item F1, ratification of principal appointments.
So at the last board meeting, the board made a motion to table the ratification of the principal appointments for Allen and John Muir Elementary Schools. The board was provided with resumes of the recommended appointees, and now we are presenting this item back for the board for a motion to accept the appointments for the principal appointments for Allen Elementary and John Muir. Allen Elementary, my recommendation is for Mrs. Mosnina Salazar, who is currently the Parkside Intermediate School Assistant Principal. She comes with many years of experience in education. Most recently, prior to coming to our school district, she was a teacher on special assignment, a coach in the San Ramon Valley Unified School District, one of the highest performing school districts in the state of California. She has many years there working in coaching and instructional leadership. The recommendation for the John Muir Elementary School is Mrs. Michelle Graham. Michelle is coming to us from Redwood City, where she is currently assistant principal, but principal, more like principal in a private school, Redeemer Lutheran School, where she has worked for many years supporting teachers and overseeing instructional programs at our schools.
Through the chair, so moved.
I'll second that.
Any questions first? Clarifying questions? So we do have 2 speaker cards on this, so I'd like to invite first Emily Roberts.
Good evening, Board President Martinez and members of the board and the public. My name is Emily Roberts, and I'm the parent of a child at Allen School and the incoming PTA president. I also serve as the current board vice president for the San Bruno Community Foundation, and in my professional role as staff for Allen's Commission. As it concerns this agenda item, I also served as a part of the interview panel for the current search for the 2 new principals for the district. about the decision before you today, as I do wearing these multiple hats. About the process. As a member of the interview process and a leader of and participant in many such processes within my own agency, I'd like to share my feelings that this process had deep integrity and buy-in. From the outset, it was inclusive of the community, included cross-sector representation from parents, teachers, and other school personnel, as well as district staff. The candidates before you were thoughtfully vetted by nearly 20 individuals who know the needs of the school communities and the necessary qualifications of principal. Representatives from each school community were entrusted with the important task of referring a short list of candidates from the pool we reviewed onto Dr. Kemp, whose rightful job it is to make the final decisions for each school in her position. All of the reviewers took nearly 10 hours of our time, and many of us also took the day off of work, to provide input to this process because we felt valued and because we know the importance of finding strong individuals to fill these roles. We took our responsibility seriously, as I hope those would have to say. With regard to board purview, in my experience as a board member, as I mentioned, and on staffing a public-facing board and a Brown Active Commission, I'm deeply familiar with the role of boards and of those that they appoint to lead their organizations. I'm sure that in your role, you also understand that it's the role of the superintendent and that the board is hired, and not the board itself, to thoroughly and appropriately vet candidates to make supported recommendations to the board regarding HR decisions. The decisions made by the superintendent undoubtedly reflect thoughtful attention to many various needs, challenges, and strengths in each school community, which are unique. This process, in my experience, is nuanced and complex, a task that Dr. Kemp, with wealth of experience and education, is surely well suited to perform. I'd like to weigh in to urge your support to vote in favor of the candidates presented for your approval. Approving the recommendations before you today would allow adequate time for transition, not only for administration, but also for staff, students, and families. To do so without further delay and discord would also help to rebuild trust from the public in this board as a body. And I'm hopeful that you'll help to further the positive strides that have resulted in the last couple of years in our schools. Your vote of approval for these candidates would undoubtedly be a step in the right direction. Thank you.
One other call for Serene Jasmine.
Hello, my name is Irene, and I'm an office manager at Allen and a parent of a student at Allen as well. I was a member of the principal interview panel, and I want to share the process with you. The panel included all stakeholders, including parents, an administrator, teachers, and classified personnel. From these participants, there were two panels. One, which interviewed the candidates in a traditional question and answer format, and second was a simulated site council meeting in which the panel took on roles of various stakeholders. Following the interviews, panels ranked the candidates and put forth names of the preferred candidates for the next round of interviews. The process gave us a good look at the candidates through multiple lenses, and we feel confident in our recommendations. I ask that you respect the work in the interview committee and approve these candidates. Thank you.
Okay, so those were the two cards that I received for public comment, so now that part will close. Any board discussion?
I'd like to thank staff for providing information. Additional information is super helpful in our decision making. Thank you.
I would like to thank the public comments and the integrity of the process in which these selections were made, and forward to the superintendent to make the final recommendation for the board to consider tonight. Thank you.
Okay, so on the motion, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Absolutely yes.
Okay. Any opposed?
I do.
No?
Yes, I do. And,
Okay, then we're ready to move on. Item
no,
G.
I want to explain the reason why my no vote.
The process is to explain it beforehand so the board can benefit from your content.
So now,
That's always been the case.
No,
Now we can't benefit from
no, it's
your
not,
reason.
Kevin. Okay, well, I'm going to explain my no vote. In reading board policies 4111 and AR 4112, I don't believe that we adhere to our board policy. And in hearing from other parts of our community, they don't feel that we, that their concerns were heard. So that's the reason I'm voting no.
No, I think we're ready to move on. So in order of the agenda, I believe now is item G1, potential concept agreement regarding development of the new soccer facility at Engvall property.
So we're gonna have fun with this mic, huh? A little bit.
Just take it out. Yeah, just take it out.
It has a hair clip on you. It's kind of cool. What is it? So good evening, trustees, President Martinez, and everyone here. I want to just introduce Kevin Scully, Dr. Kevin Scully, our superintendent from the San Mateo Union High School District. And following the May 11th visit to the Engvall property, he and I had a conversation, and along with Joanne Grogan from the city manager, and we want to present some ideas to you as concepts and have a discussion regarding okay, so the screen is, I don't know what happened, okay. Regarding development of a new soccer facility at Engvall. So I'm going to start off by handing this over to Dr. Scully.
Okay, and this will be really good practice with me, because tomorrow night, this is on our board agenda, and I think next week it's on the city of St. Bruno Park. One of the, let me just go back. Everybody knows that in this room knows the history of Crestmore High School. For the past 30 years or so, this site has been used by the San Bruno community and the surrounding communities for soccer. Back when my kids were very young, we lived in the South Bay, and we came up here for soccer games, at least on several occasions. And so I know that, I think our board knows that even though those facilities belong to the high school district, there's a sense of ownership, a deep ownership in the community of San Bruno. We are in the position now of vacating that site. We have moved a whole bunch of different facilities off there. In August of 2020, we will be finished, if all goes according to plan, with the construction of the new Peninsula High School. That will be located in Burlingame, on the other side of the freeway, near the hotel. We believe that's a central location. We think it's going to serve our students better, give them better chances for internship, and not have them spending, some of them spending an hour each way on the bus to get there. So on March 28th, the board passed a resolution declaring this site surplus, and then it stated that the board was committed to working with the city of San Bruno and other community groups to explore all options for the site and to ensure that sports fields are available to the community. And so we approached the city, we approached San Bruno Park and said, hey, we own this land. Is this the best place to build soccer fields in the community of San Bruno, or are there other sites that might be better possibilities? If you go to those facilities, perhaps there are better places in San Bruno Park, and there are lots of things going on. You're taking on some pretty complicated land use issues at present, and so when we look at all the sites we have, all of our interests, is there a way to make the facility work better? Next slide. So one of the things that we heard from the neighbors in our conversations was that the fields are far away from where many people live, and they're not close transport arteries in the area. When we do, so our plan is, after declaring surplus, as we look forward on this, our thinking is to use the proceeds, if we were to sell the Crestmore site, to build staff housing. And so we have an interest in maximizing the amount of revenue that we have there so that we could build that staff housing. And right now, after looking at all of our other sites, the most attractive site to do that is probably at Mills High School, because it's close to transit arteries, it's close to, it's in an area that's more dense, it's close to Barton, Belgrade. We think that would be a place that would be attractive to new teachers coming here. Also, the reason to not build at Crestmore is twofold. One is, where do you get the land, where do you get the money to build on Crestmore for staff housing? And then the zoning up there is such that it's what's called R1, which means that you can go from 2 to 8 units on that side. So as we look at this, the fields are at present inefficiently used. I realize there's lots of land there, but in order for us to maximize the revenue from the sale of Crestmore, those fields are the acreage that they take up will have to be reduced. There would also be a new site with very close quarters with housing, trying to figure that piece out. And then the other piece is that we've discovered is that having fields next to housing is, may diminish the value of that site in terms of its sale. This is a drawing of just a section of Crestmore, and you get a sense here of, if you're coming up Cortland, that the fields would be surrounded on 2 sides of housing, at least in a very rough schematic of the housing. And so, this is just for illustrative purposes. And I was at the AYSO soccer meeting today. Of course, they would like more acreage for the soccer. So this is just meant for illustration of parking and a facility as well. This is your slide.
Yes. Okay. So I just wanted to bring this back to the forefront because, as we're thinking about the modernization of our schools and the approximate $200 million revenue generation that we need to have to do all the projects, there's some areas where we still need to raise revenue. So we know that the sale of the Hesselbrunn property, we anticipate about $8 million for that on a good day, but we don't know what happens if there's a recession, right? And so it leaves a gap of about $95.5 million for us to raise to complete the modernization of the schools. So I just wanted to put this slide in there to show, here are the anticipated expenditures that we have and then the anticipated revenues. So we can kind of keep that in mind as we're thinking about what can we do to maximize revenue generation, because that was one of the things that we said to the voters when we went out for Measure X, was that the district was going to break the funding for these projects.
So I know that the San Bruno Park School District is having conversations about its Engvall property, and this site would be, you know what the site is. This is more for the people who show up at Arborwood, not for the people who show up for here. But this is an overview of the site. Obviously, it's much more closer to transit arteries than Crestmore is. Okay, so as we look at this, in terms of the soccer fields, this site is centrally located in the community center, and then a complex would be compatible with other multiple uses on the site. And I don't pretend to know what you're thinking about doing there, but that site has more flexibility, I think, than perhaps the site at Crestmore has. This is an example of a soccer field. Some of you may know it. It's called Beach Chalet in San Francisco. This is a modern facility, lit, turfed, parking, better amenities, those kinds of things. It's just here for. We haven't done any design work on any soccer fields on any of these facilities. So as we look at this, what are the advantages for the San Mateo High School District? And that's, sort of my job and our boards to look after. But constructing the field would free up additional acreage for development at Crestmore. I think our board feels strongly that it has an obligation to build soccer fields for the community, even though that it's been a great deal for the community. We are part of the community, and it makes sense to have those fields, and frankly, there's goodwill. There's just the responsible thing to do is replace those fields as we go, and having those fields in another location might increase the value. So one of the things that myself, Stella, and Jovan Grogan from the city have talked about is to establish an agreement between the district and the San Bruno Park District, whereby you're paid for the acreage at Engvall through the proceeds of the Crestmore sale. Since we wouldn't have to build the facilities there, then we would compensate San Bruno Park for that. And when the fields are completed, they'd be part of the city of San Bruno to maintain, operate, and own. I think as our board considers this, and as you do, this isn't an issue for you, but I do think our board, as I mentioned, does feel like it made a commitment to the San Bruno community to retain sports fields. It potentially helps the district meet its parkland allotment. We have to put in parks as part of this project, and if we were to give 5 acres to the city, well, that would go a long way towards there. Probably enhances the value of Crestmore property, which is a benefit for us, and probably in some sort of arrangement could easily be a benefit to San Bruno Park as well. And then it's compatible, I think, with the community's desire for retaining the field. And then, I was at the AYSO meeting beforehand, and I know that they're particularly interested in having a facility not have soccer fields spread out all over, but having a true soccer complex that would be available. And then, perhaps fewer access and traffic demands on the area. So obviously you have a complicated arrangement here. You've got a whole bunch of different moving parts. Traditionally, different governmental agencies don't always do the best work together. There's turf, there's all kinds of pieces there, and we have to work through this piece. And this, I think, requires some sort of general plan amendment by the San Bruno City Council. I know that we can't change our zoning. We can complete fields there, but we can't change to make that site up in Crestmore more dense without going to the voters. So you guys are here tonight. This is your discussion. Tomorrow night our board will meet on this topic, and then this is a discussion item at the May 28th City Council meeting. So I'm here. Dr. Kemp's here. We want to listen and hear. Tomorrow night I'll be listening to the board. Obviously, there's many, many steps to go here, but we want to get our government agencies' perspective on this. And I think the other part is we want to be as transparent as we can, right? Bring this agenda to you tonight, brings this idea out, the community gets to hear about it, and then we get to have a community conversation about it. So that's our request here.
Hello. That's fine. That's much better. Dr. Scully, thanks obviously, this proposal offers a large community benefit. Soccer is a big deal in San Bruno, as much as the peninsula. I do have about 9 questions, if you bear with me. In a recent planning commission, you were asked if there was a protection offered to protect the track and the fields that exist at Crestmore Canyon. At the Crestmore High School.
Yes.
And your answer was you were not certain at that time what was going to happen, or can you explain your answer?
Well, so the district, it's sort of declared the land surplus, and you guys have done that. There was a provision in there that, if you could go back to the first slide, which outlines what the board has said about this, the last bullet there. You know, I don't, from a, I'm not sure I remember all the comments there, but one of the points was that we don't have a legal obligation to replace those fields. Now, we do have to work with the city would have to entitle and approve anything there. But I do think that the board has an interest in that, we all have an interest in working through this thing in a way that benefits everything. So I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Well, it was a public meeting, right? So the planning commission were asked, were you committed to protecting the field up there as well as the track?
Right. So I mean, the track has not been a comment, or I think there was one person at the planning commission who mentioned using that track. Yeah. The focus of the discussion has been around the sports fields. I think that if you look at that site, even whether the fields are there or not, there's going to be recreation there. There's going to be an expectation around the park, and we just haven't gone far enough to look at, would there be a running trail or something like that on the site.
And just to ask for the public record, is that you have existing soccer fields at Crestmore, correct?
Yes. There are some.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Is there a board discussion at your meetings to say, why don't we just keep these fields?
There is, and if you look at the fields up there now, it's my opinion that they're laid out in an inefficient way. And so I think that the land is valuable. We want to build staff housing. We want to attract high quality teachers, and to do that, we need money to build staff housing, and the revenue is from that facility. And so the district has a fiduciary responsibility to maximize its revenue while also taking into consideration the recreation needs of the city.
Is there any other questions? I feel like I've been dominating them.
I apologize to the chair. I don't have 9 questions, but I have one question. Is it an option, Dr. Scully, is it an option to lease the part of Engvall property to move the soccer fields, or can it only be accomplished through the selling of the land?
That hasn't been something we discussed, but we certainly could. I would imagine you have an interest in lease revenue to increase your operating revenue, so that's something that could be discussed. Yeah, that's a possibility.
Yes, because maybe I misunderstood information that was provided to me. I was informed that if you're moving the soccer fields, it needs to be moved to property that's being purchased, not a long-term lease wouldn't satisfy or some sort of requirement. But if something could speak to that,
no, I don't think there's any legal reason. There's no legal reason that we couldn't rent that land under a long-term lease. I can't think of any legal.
Well, that does open some avenues. You'd be willing to lease the soccer fields from us.
Oh, so to be clear, it's not me. The board has to make a decision.
I understand, but I'm saying that there's an option.
Yeah, there is.
How could it be ongoing obligation to your district? The lease would be an ongoing obligation.
That's right. So the board would have to enter into that arrangement. I can't think of any legal reason why that couldn't happen.
I'm just saying that I can't see what the benefit would be. Ongoing obligation to the city of San Bruno or the San Bruno Park School District.
It depends on the value. It's a hypothetical. I can see reasons to do that as opposed to it. That's part of what our work was trying to figure out what are the various parties' interests, right? And so, you know, that's why we're bringing this forward, right? So, that's a valuable thing for us to think about as we go forward.
And I still only have one question, but this is part B. So unfortunately, I missed our board, our board facility tour of the Engvall property. There was a discussion at the district office on May 11th, and unfortunately I had missed that. But I would understand that somebody at that meeting had spoken, and they had said that they may have been from the San Bruno City Council, I'm not sure, but or the city manager. They had said that the property needs to be purchased to move the soccer fields, not leased. But if that's not the case, I just want clarification from somebody.
I mean, I don't want to say 100%
Yeah.
that you could lease it, but I don't, based on what I know now, I don't see a reason why that could happen.
For the chair.
Yes.
Just to dive back into it, for me, I thrive on details. This report is great. I would appreciate your presence coming here and willing to answer questions. For me, a detailed schematic of what the footprint would look like at Engvall of the soccer fields in its relation to Crestmore Canyon, which is an area that a number of us are very passionate about. There's the possible extension of the trails and possible looking at all kinds of land use options. And without those further details, I have my reservations about this.
Okay, can I just go back? So I think our interest, and myself, Dr. Kevin, are, do you want us to explore more? Because all those things that you outline cost money. And so if you were to say, hey, look, this is just not something that we're interested in, and that would save us a lot of time and money to do that. If that's one of them, if you're saying, yeah, this is something that is a possibility, yes, you know, San Bruno Park, we want you to invest money in what this would look like. Yes, San Mateo High School District, we want you to invest the money. Then that's something I can bring back to our board for further consideration.
If I could, that's great. One of the things, the concept for this, I guess, looking at how you depicted what two soccer fields would mean at the current Crestmore site, also represents a little bit of the image of what that impact of, say, those houses right there against the field might be our city. So if you took that same kind of a concept and just put it on our acreage, we would have some of the same characteristics, but also probably some of the same concerns. One of the things that I'm wondering about on our side would be if we were to continue to explore this as a potential use for part of the acreage, would this be an opportunity, and maybe our last opportunity, to look at the entirety of that site differently, while this is a component? In other words, right now we've got the sky's the limit because we have nothing there. But if we had this as a concept going forward, would there be another way that we could look at Engvall with this as one of the components? In other words, right now we have the payments there, and this is not my brilliant idea. This is coming. But could this be a site that we invest in to keep in the district, other than a parcel like this? So for example, a new school. As a new school, perhaps would there be leftover space for growth? Would there be room for, because one of the things that struck me down at that site is just the enormity of it. There's, of course, it's in a basin, there's a lot of unusable, but if we had, for example, to make that the new Rollingwood Portola complex, make that the new child center, make that the place that if we run out of space, there's room to put a wing. In other words, if we explored this and just give it its due, just give the instruction to keep looking at this, what would be the impact to our planning to stop, in other words, to open back up that concept of what could the district make use of otherwise for Engvall, if we kept it. It's like, and then proceeds that we might get from selling the other sites, you know, and not selling.
Right.
In other words, I guess what I'm trying to say really is, if we don't do this now, then we'll never do it. But would that be the kind of work that could be done in concert with looking at this particular use, and then make our decision on the full site well informed?
Right. So I think that would require staff to go in and study then what, you know, all of the different options. So let's say, based on something that was brought up last night at the community meeting at Rollingwood, maybe coming back with like, okay, here's some examples of some ways to raise the revenue for the complete modernization of the district, and what are some other options now that this idea has come forward with the Engvall property that could include perhaps the relocation of the soccer fields to that complex, and what could the district do? Some other ideas around generating the revenue to do that. So we're certainly willing to go and look at that and kind of bring a group together to look at the plan and figure that out and come back with some information to the board.
Chair, let me just dive in here as well, because look, Engvall is a super valuable site, right? You could have a hotel there, you could have a resort. The sky's the limit. It's massive. And my main concern this evening is, you know, I still have more questions, but the idea is, if we put soccer fields, if it in any way encumbers the future lease, a tasty future lease of a commercial asset that can make the best use of Crestmore Canyon, access to 280, access to a great part of the world, frankly. I don't want to give you permission to go ahead to your board and say, guys, we're going to explore this, you know, spend a lot of money exploring this, because if it does prohibit a future long-term lease option with a really amazing asset, I have my reticence.
So Tom Shannon is not here this evening because this we didn't ask him to be here this evening, but I think this is something that we could bring back to Tom to take a look at. And so, you know, we at the board meeting on May 11th, you asked that you prepare an RFP so we can just cast the net and see what happens. And so we're just asking that the board let us cast the net and have a conversation and just kind of begin to think about what this could look like. The city has offered to kind of look at a schematic, what a schematic would look like, taking into consideration access to the Crestmore Canyon, so that we can take a look at maybe perhaps one day, you know, extending whatever's there on the fields to include, you know, access to that canyon if that gets the desire of the city to do that. But I think it's interesting conversation to have, to look at where they might go, what we would do, how many acres, kind of study it a little bit before we say no. Let's kind of get all the information and get all of our data so we can make an informed decision. And that's what Dr. Scully and I are asking is, you know, do we have permission from the board to dive into this a little bit more?
To the chair. In casting this net, I'd rather cast the net as previously directed superintendent and staff to do in regards to what the amount of those leases will look like. So I really think, honestly, at the moment when the city manager brought this item up before the board, I truly believe that it's premature. I too, Dr. Scully, you did mention that you have, you're on the board of the high school district. You all have fiduciary responsibility to your district, well, so do we. And I feel that if we do say yes now to the community and having the soccer fields moved to Engvall, I believe I agree with what Andy just said. I think the conversation is too premature. We still have to cast the net out to see what the amount of those leases are going to look like. And I feel that once we do that, then maybe we can have a conversation at a later time. I don't want to direct staff at this point in time to, I find it to be wasting our time. I feel our time will be well spent by casting that net and seeing what the responses are in regards to what those leases would look like. If a lease does come before us at a future date, now if it's a company that wants to maybe put a sports complex there, then I would say, hey, then yes, maybe we can look into that and have established that partnership moving forward. But right now, I don't think that that's a viable option for us. And I'd rather spend the time and send those RFPs out to see what we're going to get. And I will reiterate, I think it's premature to even direct the superintendent at this point and even continue that conversation right now. I do know that if we do that now and we cast that net out, to include the soccer fields, I think that would take away from that source of revenue to our district. And I do know that this property is a gold mine, and we need to really get what we can, the most that we can, so that, because our responsibility is here to our district first. And like I said, I'm at AYSO. I've been with AYSO. My oldest is 28 years old, and I've been with AYSO since she was 4, and I haven't stopped yet. I'm still there. So I do believe that you know, I will do whatever I can, but right now, this is all about the dollars, and we really need to get as much as possible so that we can continue this ongoing source of revenue for our district.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Scotty, and Dr. Captain, for the presentation. I will take the counterpoint that's been expressed by the other board members. I think we want to basically look at all, I think feasibility studies, as you pointed out in the presentation, is very important, because when we had a previous CEO years ago in transition, one of the things that was remarkable about this, the chief business officer said that when you get revenue, for every dollar of revenue you receive, it should be worth $3. Yet, the same thing is true on the expenditure side. For every dollar you spend, you get $3 of value. And I think it would behoove the board to allow some feasibility studies to see this and the concept, as well as the other choices, because I think this would be premature to cut off choices when this is a beginning conversation that's critical to the city, potentially to the high school district, as well as San Bernardino Park School District. And I think we live in a community that becomes very important to work one another, work with each other, and understand the needs and of each of the stakeholders. And I think it's premature to not look at it without getting some feasibility at these different possibilities at the same time of providing the request for proposals to also include this. It would be negligent as a fiduciary body to not look at it. Thank you again for your presentation.
To the chair, in hearing what you're saying, Henry, I don't believe we maybe, if we're going to entertain having a conversation in regards to fixing, I would entertain to have a discussion with the high school district in fixing the current fields that we do have. If they do decide to sell all of their acres up at the Presmer site as it is right now, and so in order to move the fields so that we can work with our community, being that we are a public school system, that we look into fixing our fields so that we can have all of our soccer players utilize our fields, because at this point we have just massive land at some of our school sites and we're not fully utilizing those properties, those properties. So I would entertain that.
Sorry, I don't understand the point though about what are you suggesting that the high school district would maintain a responsibility to fix fields that they don't own?
Well, it's something, I don't know if they've had the conversation, but it's something to take back to them and see if it might be a viable conversation to have. I'm just throwing other options out there.
So one, I would actually, even in line, I would like to actually broadly use this for the site. One of the ones that I would ask the high school district also is acreage is more valuable the more of it that there is together. You know, not just the per acre, but there's the acreage as a unit and what's adjacent to it, all of that. Just wondering whether there might be a feasibility from their developer or something to look at providing first, for example, parking with a field on top. You know, in other words, something that shrinks that you're building you're building a parking lot, but you've got soccer field, something like that. That you've seen, I'm sure, in Berkeley, and
yeah, that's right.
Those kinds of things that keep the land, because also just to what I was saying about an alternative use for the site, likely the soccer fields in the school district wouldn't be using the site at the same time. You know, the parking is parking for everybody. You know, and something like that, if that could be explored, especially since we own that land now, so what uses could we make out of it? You know,
That's a good point.
if that's if you could bring that back as just an alternative, or as a possible feature for minimizing the acreage needed.
So maybe I should have said this at the beginning. When Dr. Kemp and I talked often about the work that we're doing in your situation, you are, I think, at a really critical place right now in terms of your community, in terms of the land use issues. You are land rich and operating money poor relative to other places. And so it's a crucial time for this. I think more than anything else, whether it's this idea, to Mr. Mason, I believe there's a lot more work to be done because, to your point, you don't want to put 6 acres and say, oh yeah, let's go put the soccer fields here, and then you've prevented something else from happening on the site. I mean, that's not, you have the responsibility to do that. I think what I think we're saying, and I think, we hope you appreciate a little bit, is that we're trying to work as 3 organizations in a very complicated way that could produce synergies for all of us, right? And so, the origin of this conversation really is there another place in San Bruno that makes more sense to put the soccer fields than what we're doing? And our district is, I think, willing to work with other parties in a way that may be beneficial to them to make that happen. So whether it's this concept or something else, hopefully that's what you'll take away from this.
To the chair, I'd like to propose something else. I'd like to propose that we establish a subcommittee with folks from the AYSO, board members and yourself, Dr. Scully, from representing the school district, the high school district, and 2 members from our board along with our superintendent, so we can have that discussion ongoing. I just don't want it to take it away from what the future plans are in regards to Engvall, and we established this subcommittee so that we can see how we can resolve that issue with moving the soccer fields. And of course, also, if Jovan, city manager, would also be interested in on that committee.
So I can totally bring that idea to our board.
Sure.
I think they'd be
perfect.
Yeah, maybe we could cycle some of these. And we have community questions too, but maybe we cycle some of these through the 3 agencies and then come back and. The other thing too is I think we have to be mindful that we are, our time frame with the lease option is also limiting. We can't delay forever. It'll cost us to lose lease revenue we have and not have an alternative. So time is of the essence, but it's almost like we're in fool's paradise if we're not aware that that clock is ticking too. So that's why I think if we could do it, maybe come back around the horn from our agencies and stuff and our public, and start to come down to.
To the chair, one more thing. I'm saying no to this, but yes to working together.
Okay, but first, before we come with actual directions, I'd like to honor those that wanted to make comments to, and starting with Joe Meyer.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Meyer. I'm a resident here in San Bruno and also a very, very proud parent of 2 daughters that have come through Allen School. Both of them in college, and one of them currently down at Cal Poly studying to be a teacher. With that being said, though, I am also with the AYSO Soccer Board and have been on that board for close to 12 years now. Both of my children have gone through that program. Tonight I come here just to speak briefly, I'll try to keep it brief, to support Dr. Scully here in coming out and helping to find a solution to our issue that we have with the soccer program. They own the property, the city of San Bruno, and even South San Francisco, the community uses those fields for their children to play soccer. But anyway, so I think a lot of you know, it's more than just about playing soccer. This is a place that we currently have been blessed with, that the community comes to, gets together, and works together, and builds a better, stronger community. Because we can run 8 soccer games at the same time up there. While those kids are playing soccer, those parents are talking. You know, they're getting along. They're finding out who else is in their community. Through this program, I've been able to meet people from South San Francisco, from Millbrae, and it just brings everybody a little bit closer together. And I'd like to thank Dr. Scully for coming and at least trying to put something forward to maintain that. We do disagree on a few things. Size is one. I think one of the biggest things that we have going for us at the current site is that ability to have all of these kids in one location and all the parents there as well. You know, if you limit us to 2 soccer fields, yeah, we can play soccer on 2 soccer fields. We can utilize schools, we can go to other facilities, but it's not the same thing. There isn't an event that happens on a continuous basis in San Bruno that draws that many people together. 10 weeks straight, we have 1,000 or more kids up there with their parents. The Posey Parade is the only thing that comes close to that, bringing that many people together. They do it once a year, we do it for 10 weeks. You know, having that location is vital. And when you guys are considering things, please keep that in mind. That it's not just the soccer field, it's the location of the soccer field, it's the ability to bring people together. You know, I think that's not that Dr. Scully's against that, but it's dollars. You guys are looking at dollars, how much space does it take? That's what's important. You know, if we can limit the amount of space that we take up, it's less money he has to invest to keep the soccer fields, it's less money he has to pay the school district here to use those, you know, to buy them, if that be the case. I support the idea overall, but I just want to ask you guys, please keep in mind that we need a fairly substantial location. You talked about what is possible at the Engvall site. I walked it this morning myself. It's an amazing site. I look at that and the possibilities are endless. There's all kinds of sports complex, soccer community center, child development center. There's a lot that can be done there. If you're looking at expanding up into the canyon, walking trails, you know, it's just unbelievable what could possibly be done there. Your imagination is the only thing that will let you spend your money. You know? So, with that being said, please just remember, you know, this is a good idea. We can make it work with 4 fields, yeah. You know, soccer would continue, but we would lose one of those vital things that makes San Bruno so very special. Is having that area to meet every single Saturday and to get together with those people that are in our communities. That's all. Thank you.
Chris Kelly.
Thank you. My kids went through AYSO, that having everybody in one spot is important. That doesn't pay a teacher anything. That doesn't fix a school or build a new building anywhere. Every reason that Dr. Skelly gave why it's prudent for them to not have the soccer field at Crestmore applies to why we should be very leery of putting them at Engvall. Every reason he gave, having the housing near the soccer fields, you know, having one property together, all those things apply to us too. I don't mind talking about it. Go ahead and talk about it, but a couple of things. Their timeline is way different than ours. They want to move that property, develop it, get it done. They want to know what they have to do about the fields early. As some of these people said, that is a gold mine property. But our process for turning it into a gold mine, if we can, is going to be a longer process. Because it's zoned R1 like theirs is. I agree there is more possibility for changing that, but nothing has been changed. I haven't heard the city council all the time I ever dealt with them. They never talked like they wanted to change anything there. Maybe possible in the era to do it, but that's a long process. That's not easy. That's not quick. And it sounds like we're talking about, gee, give them the fields and then hope we can still do something there. I just wouldn't do it. One thing though, on the same note, back when we sold Carl Sandburg and there was talk about the, that developer had some recreational use issues they had to take care of. And one of the things they did was drew up plans for putting mini soccer fields in at John Muir and grading and leveling that downfield, that lower field, which John Muir could hardly use at all now. They also included doing stuff at the lower field, Crestmore Elementary, putting ADA compliant access down there and putting brand new fields down in there. Putting new fields in at Parkside. I would think that maybe we would also, as there is talks going forward, explore those options with the high school district as well. Additionally, that field at Portola is just sitting there. You're not going to grow grass there. That's never going to work. But nice turf field that the kids can actually use during the school year, so they're not playing on rocks. Might not be a bad idea either. And that field it's a large field. Having everybody together in one place is really nice, but that's not your most important thing. I would look at those other options for doing stuff and then do the work you need to do to get the most out of Engvall. And then the one reason that I'm hesitant even to really talk about it too much though is that plan that we're talking about calls for the city to get a new park for free out of it. That's why the city doesn't want it leased. They want a park they can own. That will be theirs forever. I have no problem with the city having parks, but we're not the park and rec. Like I said, teachers, buildings. So if we are, as long as we are entertaining the idea of putting soccer fields in there, which the city would get as a brand new park, their willingness to work with us on really upgrading the zoning of the Engvall site, they'll have a reason not to want to. They might give us some density stuff, a little bit, but in terms of switching it from residential to a real use like you guys are talking about, if they're thinking they're getting a free park, they're going to go, oh, sure, we can't, general plan, we can't change anything, we can't, they're talking about changing general plan for them, so why can't they talk about changing the general plan for us? I mean, you got a 20-acre parcel, a mile from SFO, a couple miles from Genentech, right across the freeway from YouTube, direct freeway access as long as once you put the ramps in. We've got to find something better. Whether it's sale or lease, whatever it is, it has to be for the really highest and best use of that. And we should be spending the next couple of years working with the city to get what that is. It may not be big, enormous commercial complex, but God, it's like that. And you can't give away 5 acres before you do that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the extra time. That was time for that.
Jim, Competencies.
Hi, I'm the president of San Bruno. I just have a couple of points to make. I find it kind of incredible that this gentleman here said that a park-like atmosphere is incompatible with housing up there at Christmore.
Can you please speak into the microphone so we can make it on audio?
I found it incredible that he stated that a park-like atmosphere was incompatible with housing, but it's their property, they're going to do what they want with it anyway, it sounds like. Also, your statement that, Kevin, that there's nothing down there at Engvall Canyon. You have a lease, a facility paying lease to the school district. You have the maintenance yard there. That is not nothing.
That's not
to change. I thought that's what you.
No, my point was that there.
I'm sorry.
That we own that site.
Yes.
It serves with other uses for the site within the district, not nothing.
Thought I heard that.
I'm sorry.
I apologize.
I don't
But if it was moved, it would be expensive to do. Also, there is a spillway there. And there is a reason they put a spillway there. So that would have to be dealt with in the future plans for whatever you guys did. And you should keep that in mind. And the big creek that comes down here. So, thank you. That's it.
Eddie?
Martin. I go by Eddie in the community. So I'm just here. I would like additional information in regards to, I'm a soccer mom. I understand soccer, no. But my girls love soccer, my husband loves soccer, and it helps them. What I've been hearing is more the money, and basically the money, the value, the housing, the teachers. I love my teachers. My hashtag on my Facebook is I love our teachers. We all matter, all children matter. But nothing was mentioned about soccer and the social emotional health. And I'm into mental health awareness. For the last 3 years, I've been wearing, probably 2 years I think, I wear a band on my wrist, and it's one of my anchors. I have many anchors, and it says, life is like soccer, you need goals. And I can tell you, both of my girls, they're part of the San Bruno Park School District. They're one of them graduated from Cappuccino High School, the other one's a junior. And if it wasn't for soccer and my soccer community, my daughter went through AYSO, both of them. And it's something that if it wasn't for my soccer family, Miss Cosgrove, who told me, I learned about the word that my girl was at crossroads. That's where it happened life. She's at San Francisco State right now. She's studying political science. Why? Because she wants to work with her community. Because when it comes down to it, when she went to, they go to Allen, and they went to Parkside, they wanted to come back and make sure that they were coming to visit Ms. Cosgrove. So it saddens me that she needs to open a new chapter of life. She's left dents in our hearts, but like I said, it's something, my daughter plays NPL, so basically we were at a tournament, and we haven't been able, they're, I think, on the top 24, 25 in the nation. I don't know, because like I said, I don't remember, but they're cheerleaders. But this past weekend, the first time they had a tournament, it was in Davis, and that's when they had the fires. They had, it was, what is it, college coaches were coming to come and look at them play. Though that was canceled. This last weekend, it was raining, and it was a college tour also, and we were able to participate in one of the games, and the other game was canceled. On the way back, we were not in an accident, and I'm not sure what happened, but there was a terrible accident 2 seconds away. What I hear with the coaches from both AY and Lowen is that we don't have soccer fields, that we have to travel to the home game. It could be Santa Cruz, it could be somewhere in Roseville or whatever, because we don't have the soccer fields. And what I do want you to keep in mind, our child, it's mind, body, and spirit. Social, emotional health. If it wasn't for my village here in San Bruno, and my soccer team, and my soccer families, I wouldn't have been here today. So I'm on the road to recovery, but it's because of all of you guys. So when you think of the dollar signs, don't look at the dollar signs. This meeting started at 5:30. You had about 100 students from ACES. Look at their mind, body, and spirit. Mental health.
So I think we've had discussion, we've had public comment. If we could maybe come down a little bit on the direction of this is the last, but things that I picked up, and we can still see consensus, was potential involvement of leases in this next go-round. Formation of a committee, whether now or upcoming, to look at stakeholders from the various regions, including soccer. Potential alternative uses for the district at the site, whether that would be feasible, while we're looking at whether fields, it might be compatible with a field use. One I just brought was possible increase in the sort of ratio of soccer fields to parking, if there's a way to do that, that maximizes the return back to the district. And I think, trying to see if there was anything else to recap of next step. And I think the thought was that this was going to the three groups that would circle back around when it has, and take the matter back up. Correct?
I'm sorry, didn't hear all that.
Great, but I would add, if it was lease, I'd also slash, you want to look at the prospect of sale.
Lease and sale, right?
Yep.
Is there anything else in the board on it? Yeah.
I think I also heard us discuss casting the net out and just seeing what options we have coming back through the RFP process, whether it's leasing or selling or a combination. So I guess this would be a question for Dr. Kemp. If the school district puts out that RFP and we're requesting businesses, whether it's the soccer fields and whether it's a sports stadium or whether it's a hotel company that wants to put a big hotel there, but when would we receive those offers?
So the RFP would come back to the board probably in around September for you to look at, and then it would go out. It's usually about a 90-day, and then you'll come back in the wintertime and take a look at those offers and kind of make some decisions. But there's, this is just exploratory at this point, no decisions being made.
Okay, thank you.
To the chair, I couldn't understand what you were saying, but I feel that we need to keep the two separate. So we just cast the net to see what we're going to get, whether it's going to be selling the property or leasing the property or the hybrid as you're interested in. But as far as the talks of what we're going to do and working together with the city and the high school district on talks about how we can provide fields for our community, that's a separate conversation. So is that what you're saying? Because
what I'm saying is that's our agenda.
Is that okay? So we're going to keep the two.
While we have had a discussion about Engvall last meeting, and we will continue to have many of those. This is one proposal, or we're beginning of a proposal, that it's just a question of, do we explore this in the mix?
Right.
It's not saying that.
I don't agree to that. Like I said, I want these two need to be kept separate. So I'm going to reiterate again, suggesting that we establish subcommittee members from the AYSO, the high school district, along with the superintendent, and Jovan, and perhaps city council members, and then 2 members from our board, along with the superintendent, to see how we can, by working together, what the other options are. But I don't see the soccer fields being part of casting that net out in regards to what we're going to do with the Engvall property.
But the casting, I think when that's been used, that's been in terms of the RFP, like looking at.
Right, I understand what Stella was
So
saying.
that's going to happen.
But to not include with the, we need to keep, I like to see, I don't know what, no one's mentioned yes or no either way about establishing a committee so that we can see about fixing our fields and working together with the high school district, the city, and city council. So, I suppose I can.
The chair, I think we're swimming here. I've mentioned to the city council on different occasions that we need to, and Marty will do this actually here, to talk about a subcommittee, right, where we talk about land use issues. And I'm not shy about it, I have strong opinions. I think that we should start agendizing those meetings.
So let's get to the topic.
So through the chair, I have listed here with what the direction was. So one was continue with the RFP process. The second one was after the 3 agencies have had a meeting and had an opportunity to discuss this, that we would look at a couple of things. Sell versus lease. If there was some property decision that we were going to make. A committee formation. Alternate uses of Engvall. Field use at other schools, and maximizing the field and parking, some kind of scenario what that might look like. So I think that I appreciate everybody's, I think these are great ideas. There are 3 agencies involved in this, and so we need to make sure all 3 agencies are in agreement to these kinds of things as well. And Dr. Scully will be at his board meeting tomorrow night, and he can share out what happened tonight and what the board said here to him, so he can report that out.
To the chair, actually, I think it's 4. Are you leaving out AYSO? I think AYSO should be. But that's 3, so it'd be the city, our school district, the high school district, and AYSO, I think it's 4 actually.
Right, so the 3 agencies that are having this on their agendas are our school district, the high school district, and the city council. AYSO will be brought to the table when a committee is formed as a partner.
And also I'd like to see if you can take to your board, or Skelly, that the possibility of when the district finally does sell that property up there, to see if the possibility of some of those dollars going to actually fixing our fields at our various school sites, because as Chris kind of did mention, we do have a lot of land. So that's another option for our community.
Yes, great, thank you. Thank you for joining. H1, approval of contract renewal with Voler Strategic Advisors.
So I'd like to introduce this item and introduce Rolanda Bonilla from Strategic Advisors, who is here this evening. In the weekend update, I provided to the board a document which was a communication update from the work that Voler has done since they've been on board with the district just for the last few months. So for several years, the district has retained consultant services for the district's communications and public relations. And as a consultant is transitioning from this role, the district has investigated various options for transitioning these services. Since March 2019, as part of a pilot, we have contracted our public relations and communication services with Voler Strategic Advisors, who have supported the majority of the district's communication and PR efforts, including enhanced social media campaign, print publications, website updates, promotional videos, and other requests by district leadership. So this evening I'm bringing to you the 2019-2020 contract with Voler Strategic Advisors. This is paid from the general fund, and I'd like to open it up for questions.
To the chair.
I
believe.
Yes.
Point of order is that when we introduce this action item, we have to call for a motion, then the discussion can follow.
Yeah, so first if there are any particular clarifying questions before we get into discussion, we can do that first. We want to discuss it, or you want to ask?
No, comment. So go ahead and I'll make this up. Yeah?
Comment.
Discussion, comment.
Okay.
Just let me know when
So-
you talk. Thanks.
He wants to make a motion.
Okay, so go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract renewal with Voler Strategic Advisors.
I'll second that.
Okay, and so,
I believe that $66,000 for a PR firm is outrageous. I'd rather spend that $66,000 on our teachers and working with our teachers so that when it does come around for negotiations with our district staff, that $66,000 rather go towards them. I think the fact that we are even entertaining this contract with this firm, let alone the amount, is just ludicrous. It's outrageous. I don't think that we should be approving this contract at this time, and let alone with the PR firm. I think we should look at other options, but this is not one of them. This is a huge amount of money.
Let me ask a question of our legal counsel.
What action?
But the board's being asked to take action.
Yes.
My question to staff is $5,500. What's the billable hours for that?
Well, we have them on retainer for, it's a flat rate per month. So it's, they do all of the PR work for us. So we have them daily working on various projects, and I could ask Rolando to come forward and speak on that, how he structures his billing.
First of all, good evening, Rolando Bonilla.
Can you get a microphone so we can?
You do not want me touching the mic. I will be up here all night taking tips. Rolando Bonilla, Voler Strategic Advisors. We are a communications firm. I lead the school district efforts. Really, I think when you say communications, when you say public relations, it's an oversimplification of a function that districts are legally mandated to have. Our job is to have a conversation with stakeholders. Our job is to build the infrastructure by which to share information, receive information, disseminate information. In situations like, for example, the anthrax scare on your school sites, it was our job to manage that situation from beginning to end, to ensure that the public was informed of what was happening, to manage the press, and to really have a consistent dialogue. We represent a vast majority of school districts in this region. I can tell you, for $5,500, we actually, as a credit to your superintendent, made an adjustment from our median, which is about $8,000 a month. So, what we are is full service. Well, go ahead, sorry.
You mentioned manage the press.
Correct.
This is a free country, and we have a free press.
I think that's a beautiful idea.
I'm sorry, I had to point it out.
No, but I think it's a beautiful idea. But candidly, your reference doesn't take into account that in order to share information with them appropriately, someone has to be that back and forth. That's about 5% of the job. The vast majority of the job is to really create the systems and infrastructure by which you are able to share information with your public. That is the #1 function of a school district. Sharing information with the public in order to inform parents, stakeholders, the community of what's happening at that site, what's happening at that district. That is the #1 function. We can get caught up on the press part, we can get caught up on the video part, we can get caught up on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and in a totality of circumstances. It is ultimately about giving the public access to information as to what's happening in a school district on a daily basis.
To the chair, Mr. Bonilla. So we have PR people on the board. We have a paid superintendent, that's part of her job.
Sure.
And we also have the board president as part of the job. We have PR people here in our district now. Whether at this point it seems like maybe that's not, the superintendent may not want to do that. I don't know, because maybe that's why you're being brought in. But we already have PR people. One is not paid, he's volunteer, but the superintendent is paid, and that's part of her job. And again, $66,000, I'd rather be paying our teachers that money.
But you know, I'll challenge you a bit, Trustee Monco. I think your argument makes a lot of sense. We're working with school districts throughout the state of California on exactly the point that you're making. Fundamentally, the argument's flawed, though. I get your point that teachers should get more funding. I am actually committed to that. I get that. But the issue is a legislative issue. The issue is that Sacramento is not funding school districts appropriately. And if you look at all the school districts we're working with, that is exactly what we're focusing our energy on. How do we work together with unions? How do we work together with the community to get that additional funding? In fact, today, 5 of our school districts, we were in Sacramento, meeting with the governor's office, meeting with the legislative body over there, in order to see how we can increase local funding formulas. So I'm very cautious to use this essentially us versus them discussion, because in reality, it's us as a whole discussion in terms of how we can come together to solve a bigger fiscal crisis in California that is impacting every single school district in California. As to the issue of members of the board that are in public relations, I respect that, and I actually would love to work with them. I've served in San Francisco. I know the function of the board. At the core, the board overseeing policy is delegating to the superintendent. I agree, communications efforts. We Because this district doesn't have enough to fund a typical PIO component, which would be about 6 people. That's the average for a school district. We are doing that for the cost of less than 1 full-time employee in order to help you with your communications efforts.
You said, well, I don't know about the other school districts you work with, but we're actually deficit spending. And
a lot of you are.
Okay, well, yes, and all due respect, just due respect, I really don't care about the districts that you work with, but I do care about ours, and we're deficit spending, and again, any other extra dollars we have, it needs to go to our teachers.
I agree with you. To the chair, thank you very much. I think we have to look retrospectively in terms of the importance of PR. We had Nancy Krause in her business in providing PR for the last 3 years. And this has become critical. And again, I made the point early in the meeting that for every dollar you spend, it's an investment where you get a larger return. And the return that paid off for this district is the passage of Measure X. Correct. Because that is those quarterly reports that was sent out, set the stage for the community to understand the needs and what was going on with the school district that was critical. That when it came to now asking for bond measure to become critical, and you're turning $30,000 a year into $79 million is not a bad ratio of return. The other issue is going forward when the district needs to get, for example, parcel tax to address the other needs, like teachers. You could get anywhere from another $1 million for paying $66,000 a year or $5,500, and that's not a bad return in itself. Plus, if there are other fundraising for the Education Foundation, its relationship to the Community Foundation, its relationship to the school district, and seeing those partnerships as well as business partnerships become critical to expanding on grants as well as other revenue sources. So really, for the amount of investment and what you get in return, it would be foolish to walk away from it.
Trustee Sanchez, you bring a great point. We have a school district, and I'll name it, in San Jose, for example, Alum Rock. We've been working with them for 4 years. We've leveraged that work. We've generated about $5 million in outside funding from local tech companies. We have another company, school district, that's working in conjunction with Kaiser. They've been able to leverage that for $1 million in outside funding. So your point is well taken and valid.
Thank you.
For the chair,
yes.
Questions. As far as when you look at our letter to the community, do you see areas for growth? And if so, what would you imagine?
I didn't catch the first part.
The letter to the community. We have a report to the community that goes out quarterly.
So we're actually redesigning that right now.
Okay.
Yes.
We are redesigning. We have found that your community's it's in flux. Your community still relies on that newsletter. You still have a very large population that wants that paper. But equally, there's also another part of your community that's growing in terms of wanting to see a lot of this content via social media, via television, via YouTube videos, for example. We've done about 4 videos for you that are in production, 3-minute videos. On average, each 3-minute video in the open market will cost you anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 per. We, of course, are including that within our agreement. We haven't really put a cap on it, actually. We're doing it as a way to support you. Look, I grew up in San Francisco, born and raised. I know the issues that you're going through here in San Bruno. San Bruno is a tough working class community. You just want to take care of your family, move your kids, and do what you have to do. One of the things that we identified when we approached Stella was that there's a lot of good things that are happening out here. And what we want to be able to do is allow for you to tell that story, to have that conversation, but never lose sight of the fact that at the end of the day, the most important people here are the people right behind you. Right? As long as they're informed, they are your partners for parcel taxes, they're your partners for bonds, they're your partners for fundraising, and we make the effort to have that conversation. To Trustee Sanchez's point, it will be there. If we don't, then as you know from experience, then ultimately that leads to other fiscal issues down the line. So to answer your question, without a doubt, it's going to get revamped. We're in the middle of that right now, but we're also in the middle of a lot of production in terms of community videos for you.
Have you ever worked with a school district that actually has a municipal cable company? And what a treasure that is.
Municipal
San
cable.
Bruno cable.
That's awesome.
San Bruno municipal cable.
Which to me is a platform. I've worked with districts that have their own TV studios. I've worked with districts that have their own production. It becomes an additional tool that we can utilize by which to share the conversation.
Is there an opportunity, this is more of a staff discussion, but as far as like, when you look at that, can you partner with them to actually get our meetings televised and whatnot? Is that in your scope of work?
Here's where my scope of work is. Our scope of work is we are partners. So as we say in law school, there are the four corners of the contract, and then there's partnership. We believe in the ethos of partnership. So what I mean by that is we aren't constrained to the agreement. We're focused on the goal. And the goal for us is how do we move this district forward, this community forward? How do we allow this community to really heal and give this district the opportunity to get beyond a lot of the narrative that's out there onto an actual narrative of what happens in the classrooms, what happens each and every day. Why you're here tonight? Why are you volunteering your time tonight to this school district? You're here because you care. But that story needs to be told. So to answer your question, absolutely we'd be partners in that.
Yeah, through the chair, I have a comment and a couple of questions.
Of course.
I agree that PR is important. Before I was on the school board, I was part of the Measure X committee, and I think that the firm that we hired to help us with the communications trauma they definitely helped with our Measure X passing by providing excellent communications to the public, to the community. So I do appreciate the fact that PR is important. So my two questions are, how many districts does your company represent right now, approximately?
Are you here? Are we prepared to be here until 2 in the morning?
No, I just meant a number. I don't know. Don't listen. I just meant a number like 10.
I would say 50 plus.
Wow, 50.
That's just school districts.
School districts.
Which I lead those up.
Okay. So pretty.
I would say as a totality, my company has a little bit of every industry. We've got tech, we've got cities, we've got counties, 50 plus from the school district range, and I lead those up.
Okay, thank you. The other question I have is regarding the fee, the $5,500 monthly retainer fee. What is the likelihood of the monthly charges exceeding this retainer? I know that it might happen once in a while, but I'm just wondering what's the likelihood?
That is a great question, and I want to answer your question as well, Trustee Mason, about hourly. You're paying for value. Hourly is kind of going to come in and do my widgets. You're paying for totality of value. There is absolutely no chance your fee goes up outside of, for example, printing. We're not a printing house, that's not done. Right? If you want to do TV spots, we're obviously not going to pay for your commercial spots. And in fact, if you work with us, you're not going to need TV spots because you're going to be on television as you've been already. So your fee will stay the same. It's not going to go up. It's almost like insurance, use it or lose it. Lucky for you, your superintendent has really bought into that commitment, and she has been using it. And I don't foresee her changing that in any way.
Thank you.
Okay, I think what I guess I would just add to I do think that for things like we're at the cusp of needing stronger, just a real strong community presence, even for things like the Measure X having passed.
Don't worry, sprinklers are not coming on. I can tell you the fire won't go off.
And that,
well, that's a false alarm.
No, it's for real.
Oh, it's a really?
Yeah, the building
it just
kind of shows up all
yeah, but it's the natural is for people to say, okay, where's what we passed it, where's what's going on? You know, so throughout the community being informed and having a standard approach to those kinds of things that happen even before the first shuffle hits or as things are happening is going to working with the district at that level of we're going to need that level of reassurance. In fact, I believe that reassurance is going to factor into general notion of trust of the district, that the project they just started where is it? How is it, how is it entrusted? And I think while the superintendent has a strong role in the partnerships that she can build and develop, those that we can't see, the rest of the 44,000 people who San Bruno is a part of it too. And so I guess I just would like to see us forward with these.
And we do have extensive experience with development projects, so we'd be absolutely able to help you with that anyway.
I think we're ready to call a question. I think they do a roll call, please.
Ms. Blanco?
No.
Ms. Chavez?
Aye.
Dr. Sanchez?
Aye.
Mr. Mason?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye. Thank you, so that passes 4-1.
Well, thank you for your time. I do look forward to building a relationship with you and getting to know you in much more detail and being a part of the process without a doubt.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Moving on, item F2, resolution 19-0502, to adopt portrait of graduate competencies for San Bruno Park School District.
I'm so excited. Where are my portrait of the graduate committee members? You guys stand up, okay? This is the most awesome group of folks who've come together and worked so hard over the last couple of months. So I'm going to start off by handing out some. I'm going to sit down there. All right, so I know it's getting late. It's the witching hour. But I really want to share this with you because, as we talk about schools with tomorrow inside and our school district and the desire to transform the teaching and learning in our buildings and stuff, one of the things that came to mind was, well, are we really clear about what our vision is for teaching and learning? And so, with the idea that next year we're going into the full LCAP revision, we decided, it's time for us to really take a look at what is our vision for our students when they leave our school district. And so keeping in mind that we are now in our fourth industrial revolution, and the revolution brings many exciting possibilities and solutions to global challenges, and employment opportunities for jobs that have not yet even been invented. At the same time, it comes with the potential for technological unemployment that drives downward pressure on income security and social agency while society adapts to this new normal. Combined with climate change that we've heard about tonight, and rapid population growth in this century is the most challenging our species has ever faced. Governments, educators, and parents alike must ask questions about how they can prepare present and future generations to thrive in this transforming world. It's beyond doubt that education is at the heart of preparing present and future generations to thrive. And as a result, it's vital that we have an education system that develops human potential rather than pits it against machines. An education system designed for an industrial economy that is now being automated requires transformation from a system based on facts and procedures to one that actively applies the knowledge to collaborative problem solving. San Bruno and the whole peninsula are undergoing rapid changes with our business partners and our education partners. We have an idea or an opportunity to define what our educational vision is for schools with tomorrow inside. And with the recent passage of Measure X, time is right for us to create that collective vision for this educational program for our students and our communities. And so I wanted just to talk a little bit about this group that we had come together. I have a video that I'm going to show in just a minute. Dr. Rogers, you're going to get that set up for me, make sure it works. It's about 4 minutes long, but it talks about really what are the things that are happening. And when you think about, go back one slide, please. Yeah. You want me to do it?
No, I just can't.
Okay. Don't start that yet. Okay. Oops.
Sorry.
Little technical problem up here. It's supposed to be 21st century.
Okay.
Oh, wrong slide. Okay. That one there. Let's go back one slide. Here we go. So when we think about the workforce trends and what's happening in our workforce, first of all, I mean, it's really important to know change is happening so rapidly, we can't even keep up with it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't even know the latest apps that are out there with the kids these days. And I used to be really on top of this. Information explosion, the amount of information and how things are changing so rapidly. Things that were routine are now becoming non-routine. We're moving to a service economy, and we need to think about what that looks like in our education system. And I think if, as a parent of a 27-year-old daughter who works in an environment where she's a free agent and she does a couple little things and she blends it all together, it's very different than the workplace that my parents grew up in and that I grew up in, and it's just a different kind of environment, so you're piecing together a lot of different things. So I wanted to share with you the why. Why are we doing this? And so if we can hit up the video, and then we'll share with you the process. Hopefully we're not going to have a commercial before we start.
For all of human history, the primary focus of education has been acquiring more content knowledge. And the only way to get it is through the teacher, right? You don't have to do that anymore. Today, content is ubiquitous. It's free. It's on every internet-connected device. And it's growing exponentially and changing constantly. The world simply no longer cares how much our kids know. What the world cares about is what they can do with what they know, which is a completely different education problem.
When we were growing up, parents and teachers talked about work ethic, that you really had to want to work hard. But it turns out in the 21st century, work ethic isn't good enough. You can't just intend to work hard. You actually have to know what to do next yourself. You have to be motivated, and you have to have knowledge about what is the next step I ought to be taking.
If we can compete with other countries, it's got to be in producing citizens capable of innovative thinking. Not citizens capable of industrial production, not citizens capable of assembling iPads. We're going to lose if that's what we think we're producing. The old blue-collar industrial model of education is already gone. We're already living in its wake.
So what's everyone looking for? They're looking for people who can do critical thinking and problem solving. In order to get things. Critical thinking and problem solving are really tips to fix it. They assume you've got that. What everyone's really looking for are people who come and do their job, but invent, reinvent, and re-engineer their job while they're doing it.
A recent study by the RAND Corporation found out that among the state tests that are used for accountability, only about 2% of the items on the math test measure higher order thinking skills. 98% of the items are, can you apply an algorithm and do the procedure? The problem with that is that quite often people who can identify a particular problem format and crank out an answer, or find and guess an answer from a list of 5, which schools spend a lot of time on, cannot reason their way through a mathematical application in the real world.
We have to prepare students to be resilient, to be thinkers, to be collaborators, to be communicators. We have to prepare them in such a different way.
There's a sharp trade-off between what can be tested easily on a large scale and what's important in life. Think of a different universe where you're asking kids to invent a science experiment, write a creative essay, come up with an interesting historical perspective on an event they care about. Far more important challenges for a kid, far more aligned with what they need to do in the real world when they graduate. Much harder to test, and very hard to say, you got a 731 on this experiment, somebody else got a 627 on the experiment. So that's the existential trade-off we face in education.
Creativity cannot be taught, but it can be killed. Because to me, creativity and entrepreneurship and the spirit to innovate, they all are human nature. We can enhance it, we can make it better, but more importantly, a lot of times we discourage by forcing people to do what other people think is right. to force them to find answers, not ask questions, to force them to shoot for answers very efficiently, not ask them to explore.
There's some really big questions here is, what should we be teaching? You know, who are our major stakeholders? So getting that consensus among all the players, the parents, the teachers, the business community, the politicians, this is what we want our end product to look like. This is what we want the students coming out prepared to do, not just to know. Until you get that aligned, getting tough doesn't matter, because you're getting tough on what?
I would argue that beyond the morality of this issue, it's simply a matter of self-interest for all of us. Because if we don't train and teach and really support children from all these backgrounds, they become our responsibility or our fear. So it's about fear. Because we have to teach them about what we consider most important in our society. This is not about something that would be nice to do. This is about the very essence of our future. This is about who we become as a nation.
So first I want to start by saying that this work was funded by Google. They provided the funding for the entire project and for the event space, for the food. They brought in employees from their company, and so we had, next slide please. Thank you. So they underwrote everything, including the fee for Kim K, who came in as our facilitator. So I wanted just to talk you through the process. So we had 3 sessions. And in those 3 sessions, we had a variety of activities, and I'm going to have Adriana come up here because she was one of the partners in crime on this. Adriana represented our parents, but we also had a number of other partners in there. So I'm going to have her just share a little bit about kind of what did we do, and then I'll talk about the feedback that we sent out to the entire community as we kind of finalized the competencies.
Thank you. First, thank you for inviting me to be on this committee. It was really eye-opening and a lot of fun, and I was really impressed with the diversity of the members on the committee. There were parents, there were educators, there were hiring managers from a lot of the big corporations in the community that were telling us what they look for when they're interviewing and when they're looking for candidates for their companies. So it was very collaborative, which is one of the key takeaways from the session. We were in groups, we talked about values that we wanted our kids to have, we wanted our students to have going into high school. And before that, just understanding the workforce trends and the background of education and why where we are now is so much different than where education was, our current education model was built, 40, 50 years ago. Times have changed and we have to evolve with it. So like I said, it was really collaborative. We got into different groups, we brainstormed, we went back out and presented, and we narrowed down, our thoughts and ideas, and just shared, defended our positions, sometimes, but a lot of passion in that room. So it was a really, really good committee.
So what happened is that, so we had 2 sessions where we kind of narrowed down into about 6 or 7 competencies, and I'll talk about the competencies a little bit more detail because you're probably wondering, what does she mean by competencies? And then we did a thought exchange. So thought exchange is an organic feedback software that you use to do surveys, and you send a question out, and then people respond to that. And so that thought exchange really confirmed the work of this committee and the competencies that were developed. And so session 1, we kind of talked about them. Session 2, we narrowed them down, got a focus. We developed a graphic, which in front of you right now, you have that, but I'll show it to the public in just a minute. And then in the last session, we really talked about the descriptors and the feedback from the thought exchange. So I just wanted to recognize here in the room that we have, this is who all was there. We had district staff, of course, and administrators. We had parents. So we had parents from elementary school, middle school. We had special education parent representation. Our high school district was heavily vested in this work with us. Dr. Scully, who was here earlier tonight, attended 2 of the sessions for at least part of the time. Their assistant superintendent at services, brand new assistant superintendent. She was there for all 3 sessions. Jesse Bose from the high school principal was there all 3 sessions, and we had students from Cappuccino High School who came in and were there for 2 sessions. The last session was AP testing day, so they couldn't be there, obviously. More importantly, we also had our business partners there, so Google and YouTube, both were present all 3 days. Walmart.com flew out a person from their organization from Arkansas. We had people from the biomedical industry. We had Engie there. We had our local foundations, so we had representatives from the Community Foundation. We had a representative from the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. He was there. We had representatives from the San Bruno Community Foundation. We had Greg from Greg Pierce, our Rotary president, was there on behalf of youth development. We had representatives from the city. It was an amazing group of folks. And so this work is really only the beginning of what we're going to be doing with the educational transformation. So as you think about, hang on a second, now this thing's not working. So we came up with this. This is our vision. So we took our logo and we said, these are the six key portrait of the graduate at the bottom is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the title's at the bottom. So recognizing communication is really critical. Creativity and innovation, so creative and innovative. So I am a student who is creative and innovative. I am a student who is a contributor. We're talking about contributing to your local community, to your city, to your school, your classroom, your school, your city, your country, to the world. And so we're really thinking about that and critical thinking. So making sure that we're engaging our students in not just regurgitating information, making meaning of the information. Collaborating. It's so critical for our students to be able to collaborate with a variety of different people, and whether that's through whether they're using online or whether they're doing it in person, but creating those kind of educational environments where we nurture that. And then I think the last piece, and this was the one where we really came and we said, we need to make sure we're touching on the social emotional, that they are compassionate for others, they can have empathy, and they understand different cultures, and it's all kind of a part of it. And this is why we sort of have this rainbow. It matches our logo, but it also matches this concept of the world and everyone is one. So in front of you, you have the graphic, but you also have a, and this is going to be the poster. We have a poster with the descriptors. It's the long page. Hold this up. So we've developed a poster that we're going to be putting into all of our classrooms, and this will be part of the first phase of the implementation. So we have descriptors here for each of the qualities. So communicator can articulate ideas and thoughts effectively using written, oral, written, and nonverbal communication, can listen effectively to decipher meaning, seek to understand knowledge, values, attributes, and intentions, utilize communication for a range of purposes and audience. So when we think about that, and this really is, I think, and I'm not going to go through the other ones because we're going to have these everywhere, but this really kind of starts next year where we're going to be focusing on awareness. So making sure that for the 1920 school year, we want to make sure that the staff can articulate how we're going to accomplish this. Like, what are we going to be doing? What are we going to focus on? And so the plan is to have a committee come together, be led by Dr. Rogers, around this. How does this show up in the classroom? I will be working with the administrators on how does this show up in the leadership. What is it looking like right now when we go out and we look for evidence of collaboration in our classrooms? Like, what does that look like? And then we really want our parents and our students in the first year to be able to articulate, like, what are these? What are the 6 qualities? If we can have every student say the 6 qualities, we know we've hit a mark, and that we understand why they have to do it. So we're doing this because we're going to be better prepared for high school so we can be successful contributors to our society when we graduate from high school. So that's going to be the key piece next year. And then moving into 2020, 2021, 21-22 and on out, then we start the implementation, the effect that this will have in the classroom. So we begin thinking about how this incorporates into instructional materials. When we're adopting materials, what do we look for? When we're thinking about the design of our schools, how do these features show up in a school? If you have a school that honors collaboration, where are the collaboration spaces, or how are the classrooms flexible to allow for that? Incorporating into the evaluation documents, first place, put it in the principal's evaluation. So we want to make sure that they are leading this effort at their schools, putting in the evaluations of the superintendent and of the cabinet. And then looking at where does it show up in the current teacher evaluation and how can we, where can we highlight that? And then incorporating it into recruitment materials and then recruitment questions. And when we go out to look for teachers, we can ask key questions that will help us indicate their philosophy on how they feel about having a collaborative classroom, or give us an example when you engage students in a strong collaboration project or project where they collaborate. How did you make sure there was equity? How did you make sure you honored the different aspects that the students brought? How do you collaborate and ensure that a special education student is able to fully participate in the classroom? And so those kinds of things are things that I'm thinking about and that will be eventually rolled into this plan. This is not a one and done. This is a 5-year to 6-year or 8-year project to get this fully institutionalized. And so we're starting tonight by bringing a resolution to the board and asking you guys to consider adopting a resolution that would make the portrait of the graduate the foundation of our educational program and our strategic planning as we move forward with the transformation of teaching and learning in our school district.
Through the chair, so moved.
I'll second that.
One thing I want to just mention in terms of is, well, of course, thank the members. It's the generosity of time and in sharing that was made it all come together. But the point I think that at least I would say that was about to be the most powerful, because as you mentioned, there's a process of coming up with which are those concepts, and some of these look like ones that you've seen. Those, as it turned out, there's C's. There's another C, but that was not easy, to arrive there. But where it got powerful, and I think it was really at the end, was just the notion of what are the implications of this, and the list. I think I give you credit that you distilled it into the functional areas of the district, but as a member there, it's just seeing what are the kinds of places that you could see this at work or would expect to see it. And all of a sudden, I think it took on a different dimension. It got to be more like what, it's like that's where the fabric kind of came there. And actually, I just would say too that, even that kind of agency that students get this way is a lot about what we viscerally took as wonderful and what the students were presenting tonight. It's that sense of they found a problem and took it through. That's the kind of example I think that this model lends itself so well to. And while we found it pleasurable to see and students doing it, I think there's also that sense that it does them good, and our honoring them doing that does them. I think that's all baked into this. So just to say that.
And I didn't tell Ms. Hennessy what these were before she prepared her students to come up and do the presentation, but they modeled exactly the kind of thing that we would hope to see out of the portrait of the graduate.
The teachers prepared them, by the way. I cannot take credit. I introduced them. That was my part. Just saying.
Through the chair, I applaud and congratulate all the members of the committee that went through this process, because this is a consensus building. This is a culturalization shift. And this is basically, when I look at this, it represents a compass for the future of the children of San Bruno Park School District, not only currently will be part of this process, but the future generations that come through. And I think this will also set a compass for not just the children, but also, as you mentioned, the staff, the teachers, the staff that are part to support the mission and understand it's critical behind the scenes, as well as the community supporting it in various contexts, whether it's volunteering, understanding compassion, and the board understanding where the priorities of the board should always be encompassed in that approach to it, so the decisions are clear and concise to the benefit of the board. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's not me, it's this group up here.
Through the chair, this is a great body of work, and thanks for bringing this forward, and thanks to all the committee that are being part of this. Where would language which of these 6 buckets would language, communicator, creative and innovation, contributor?
It could fall into any really around, because they're talking about contributors. So when you're a contributor and you're having to work with somebody who doesn't speak your own language, you're going to have to find ways to adapt to that. So whether you use technology to communicate with them, or whether you're under communication is you're being able to learn another language. So this is really high level. There's a lot of stuff that could fall underneath it, and the compassion piece as well. You know, because I think that when we're talking about dealing with someone who maybe doesn't speak the dominant language in a community, is you're compassionate, you're going to find another way to communicate with them. So a lot of this is sort of intertwined, and it's and so we want our students to figure out the ways that they and we as adults model those practices. So for an example, if we were modeling the practice of compassionate communication in our school district office, our receptionist would have the ability to use, because she's not multilingual, but use technology in order to meet a parent or work with a parent who doesn't speak English when they come to the office. And so we have a system built there at her workstation where if a parent does not speak English, there's a translation device where we can use, there's a variety of the apps she could use, and they could translate back and forth until we found someone who could probably translate for them. So we model this as adults, as well as develop this in our children.
Thank you. In addition, what about the use of tools? So, I mean, obviously the industrial age is over, but, you know, engineering skill set. So,
yeah, so creativity and innovation is one of those areas where your children, and the idea around creativity and innovation is, and Dr. Sanchez mentioned this during the work, is that maybe you could explain the difference between creativity and innovation.
Sure. I think this is, when we think of innovation, is basically, it's not that you have to come up with something brand new, but you, as mentioned in the video that was touched upon, is taking what's already there and reconfigure it in a way that no one ever thought of, and that you take from such diverse fields that no one thought of. An example that we've heard at conference was the bicycle helmet today. The reason why you have those ribs and why it provides it was somebody who is a boat maker that makes hulls of the boat realized that that structure can now be used as a helmet structure to provide support, and the materials would be lighter and not cause a problem, but provide the greatest protective value. And that's where innovation comes in, where you take the next level. And then that is the creative juices that drive that process.
So for example, in a classroom, Trustee Mason, would be if we had maker spaces in our schools and the students were given a project to take something and make it better. And they had to, come up with, develop a schematic, build the new model, those kinds of things. And so creating that through, if you had a PBL program at your school, that would then allow for those kinds of things. So other things would be, for instance, engaging in the Tech Challenge. So the Tech Museum in San Jose does a Tech Challenge every year in April, and they give the students a problem. For example, several years ago, the problem was you need to land an uncooked egg, so an egg, a raw egg and a shell on an asteroid. And there are 3 surfaces, and so the children had to make the trebuchet to land this egg on this asteroid. And it was, I mean, everyone in the South Bay is doing that. No one up here in the North Bay is, but those are the kinds of things that we're thinking about, like, how do you engage the students really in thinking about problems and coming up with solutions. The following year, they had one where they had to land a paper airplane on a deck. So like it was almost like, so they had to land this airplane on this deck, and it had to go like over a mountain between 2 buildings, and then it had to come back up again. So they had to figure out the design on that airplane to be able to do that. Another project they did is they did the students had to design a earthquake-proof structure. And when they got to the competition, they put it on a shake table, and they had to withstand certain, forces. Thank you. It's getting late. Certain forces in order to maintain different structures. And they do this. So what's nice about these kinds of things is that you're helping the students to come up with problem solving, but then they take it to the next level because they take it to a competition. And then they're competing against other to explain what they've done and how they came up with that, and engaging business partners into that. A lot of times, the big companies will come in and coach the students, be a coach.
Yeah, I think this is all amazing stuff, and the way I look at it is like I wood shop and metal shop in public school, and I always look at like it's seriously engineering focused, it's physical world, it's tactile, kids gonna embrace it. So if we can infuse any of those old school physical skills into our curriculum, would be great.
No bandsaws though.
Well, there's a liability if we have legal counsel who wouldn't like that.
Bandsaws. No, there's so that's you know, and there are programs out there now in different schools. Project Lead the Way is one of them that is in middle schools and high schools that it does exactly what you're talking about. So it's sort of like the new spin engineering thinking, engineering design that we had back in the days when we were in school, and they had like, you know, which I took wood shop in middle school, so I remember that. And leather making, I made a belt. But it's a little bit different now because now we're having, you know, we're trying to teach them application of those skills.
Yeah, and actually, I think to note that part of that discussion coming from Dr.
Kincaid?
Yeah, well, it was actually Darlene Hamlin.
Yes.
She's the president of the State Board of Education. I mean, it's exactly in line with the kinds of things, like, it's not just a math problem, it's a physical world problem that students can engage in. I think it's, we're well to be ahead. We do have, we do have a request for a comment too from Mary Johnson.
Thank you, Board of Trustees. Mary Johnson, and resident of Sunbury for 45 years and former owner of Happy House School. And I'm here just because I had the honor of being asked by Dr. Kemp to be on the committee, and although I couldn't attend every meeting, I really was amazing to get what I got when I attended. I wanted just to convey that to you. Attending this particular committee allowed me to think, you know, I love what I've done for 45 years. Just at the beginning of children's life, you know, 18 months to 5-year-olds. It's been my passion for a lot of years. And thinking about the most important thing from my perspective is social and emotional development. And when we, at our table, when we talked about it, we couldn't really come up with how do you make that happen. But the word compassion really talks about that. When you are treated well, when you're nurtured and cared about well as a very young baby, you actually can take that in. And you do learn to be a compassionate, wonderful person. And through that, I want to acknowledge Mr. Connor's style, but anyway, formally here. I really wanted to acknowledge you because that is really what we got at the meeting. Big picture thinking, caring, compassion. She was our contributor, she was our leader, she was every one of those things in the process of that. And I don't know that you do that. You do that so extremely from your heart. And the depth of work, I've been here too long and I've seen so many superintendents, I've seen so many things take place. This woman has what it takes to make this community tick. And I'll get behind her on any piece of it. I haven't disagreed on things, but if I do, I can speak to that. However, I can't thank you enough for what you do to our community. And in that meeting, I saw that every one of those complaints is you. And I want to thank you publicly for it.
Okay, so we have a resolution in front of you. I have to say, I wrote the resolution, but I had a few people read it. And so it's, so what it means by the resolution, which we don't have to read it out loud, but basically it says that the district is committing to these 6 competencies for us to focus on as we begin to move into the next phase of our LCAP and our strategic planning. Really focus on this as part of who we are and what we do and the work for our students and our community.
I think that would probably be good, since we have it as a resolution number, but also to say what that final conclusion was, would be that we designating San Bernardino Park School District Portrait of a Graduate as the foundation for the competencies and skills for all students promoted from the San Bernardino Park schools to high school. I think that's actually the motion that's to the board. So I think
I'll second that.
Yeah, I think we have the motion second. I think we're going to do the roll call. Sure, we could do the roll call. Sure.
Ms. Chavez?
Aye.
Dr. Sanchez?
Aye.
Mr. Mason?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye. So the motion passes. Item F3 is consideration of the contract with HYA for architect services for Allen Elementary.
So, board members, what you have this evening is the contract for HYA Architects. It has been vetted with our construction attorneys, DWK, and it is a win-win situation for us and HYA. And once we are allowed to have this approved, which we are recommending the board to approve, we will be able to really begin the Allen project.
Through the chair, so moved.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? We have no cards. So all in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0. Thank you. So now I think we have would be the balance of the consent agenda. So we have items 2 through 5.
Through the chair, so moved. Accept the consent agenda.
Questions or a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Thank you. Passes. 4-0. And I think we're essentially down to talking about our future business.
Through the chair?
Yes.
So at the June 12th board meeting, I just wanted to remind the board that we have a public hearing that evening regarding the LCAP and the budget. There will be a presentation by Dr. Rogers and Ms. Richards to share the proposed budget and the LCAP. As well, we will be doing a recognition of our parents who were part of the PK program at Parkside this year. And so there will be a nice attendance of about 15 or 20 parents who were part of that program. And I think one other thing is that, Ms. Chavez, you're going to be, you and Trustee Blanca will be giving a presentation on the update regarding the Children's Day. All right, let us know if we need to move that to a different agenda.
And then were there any other agenda item requests?
Yes. I would like to honor the Rollingwood presentation for a discussion item to be agendized in terms of waste, in terms of utensils that was outlined earlier in the presentation.
And then already.
So shall I have food services come back and talk about that?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be a great presentation.
If I could just add, so if they can solve the issue, just the proposal that the students made, it doesn't, you don't have to take it up. That if there is a resolution to it that the food service staff can come up with, we could certainly celebrate it with the students and all. So it doesn't have, in other words, it may not take us to take action on it. But we would support whatever resolution that they can come up with.
All right, so I'll work with food services to come back and provide an update to the board. I know she gives an update every year. She could perhaps include that in her update. Okay.
Great, thank you.
One thing, as far as future agenda topics, this is a staff question. The subcommittees I mentioned earlier about working with the city council, who agendizes those meetings?
So for this, the city council, it's the city manager and myself. Okay. We meet and we talk about different items, and then he goes to the mayor and I go to the board president, and kind of develop an agenda. We have one scheduled, I think it's for November?
Yeah, we're talking about once we've started our year, that it would be probably a good time for us to move them on how we're doing, just like how we're doing this budget or actually, and then those
Is there a chance to move those forward? I mean, November's pretty far off.
I can certainly bring it back to the city manager.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, and we have future meeting dates. We have, so our next regular meeting is June 12th. We have a regular meeting on June 26th. The June 26th one would be highlighted with the consideration of some LCAP in the budget. Actually, we note too that the board will be looking at the board's request for reorganization will be at that meeting as well.
Through the chair. Just a recap, June 12th, I won't be here. I'll be at work.
Through the chair, I will be zooming in